while you're putting names up, good morning. I'm just going to do some required housekeeping before we start. So as you know, we're on the 4th floor. So the nearest exit to us is actually these stairs right here in case we have an evacuation. Hopefully they won't do it this week because it's too hot, but you never know. If we do need to be evacuated, we have to go downstairs. One of the staff will follow and we'll actually end up on the oval. So kind of go right to the oval. That's a clear space for us. This classroom is fantastic for female conveniences because the ladies' loos are right across the corridor. So please feel free to kind of go if you need to. You don't need to put your hand up and ask. Just kind of, you're adults. Please manage and be quietly. Please put your phones onto silent or vibrate. We understand that some of you may be needing to be on call for children, parents or other reasons. If you do get a phone call, please step out the classroom. If you do have to leave, just let one of us know. Okay? And the light will come from the exit pathway. Follow Stuart. Please make sure you put your name there before you leave today so that we know that you're here. And mobile phones, toilets, exits. Trust me, you'll know the alarms if they go off and you'll see us go again. There's no planned ones.
What's that? The second one where you have to...
Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, you don't want to hear that one. Please feel free to answer questions. Okay?
Answer questions.
Answer questions, yeah. Answer questions. So kind of, and also ask them as well. So I'm going to now sit down and give the handover and mic'd up. Cool.
I'm hoping you can hear me okay. Cool. All right. We're now 9 o'clock, so we've got to get a move on. Welcome everyone to the Bachelor of Midwifery orientation session for 2023. My name's Megan Cooper. I'm the course coordinator here for the Bachelor of Midwifery and also the midwifery programs in total. So today we're going to give you a really, I guess, high-level overview of the program. You'll get more information as the weeks go on. So namely next week you'll learn a lot more about what's expected of you and about the topics and things like that. So today is really just to give you a snapshot and I guess to try and get you a little bit excited about what you've just joined and how amazing midwifery is. So, but before I get started and before I go any further, I just want to acknowledge the lands that we meet on today are the lands of the Kaurna people. And I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present and to acknowledge that the lands are as important to the Kaurna people as they've always been. I would also like to acknowledge that the Kaurna women have been birthing on this land for more than 60,000 years and we can learn so much from their knowledge and their experiences. In terms of Flinders, we have quite a large geographical footprint. So you can see we have campuses in a range of different places. It's not just here at Bedford Park. If some of you might have been up to the main campus or in previous times or done some previous study up there, we'll also encourage you to go up there because that's where you'll get your swipe card, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. Welcome. I'm hoping everyone's excited. Has anyone got another word that might explain it? What's that? Freaking out. Okay. Anyone else got any others? Nervous, unsure, anxious, maybe all of those things. I hope there's a little bit of excitement in there and I hope today we can try and get you a little bit more excited about what you're going to be doing. And the amazing, I wouldn't call it a job. For me, it's a lifestyle. Being a midwife, it's the best job in the world. And hopefully we can sell that to you today and make you realise you just stepped into the best profession. So congratulations. As you may well know, it's really hard to get into midwifery. The ATAR is huge, so you are in quite a high level in terms of coming into this degree. And we had more than, I think it was about 600 applicants. So to be sitting here in front of me today means that you've done an amazing job, so well done. So give yourselves a pat on the back. However, I put that with a caveat that, with, being the cream of the crop means that you've got to work hard. So midwifery is not like any other degree that you will do. It consumes every part of you and you'll learn to understand that as we go along. So Being a midwife, as I said, is a lifestyle. You learn, you live it, you breathe it, and sometimes you even dream about it too. So more times than not, actually.
Or hear things.
Yeah, hear things. Or you'll be walking down the street and you'll see a woman who's pregnant and you'll be like, what am I going to do if she has her baby right now? Or on the train, often happens. So this is just a bit of an overview of today. As I said, it's jam-packed, but I really want it to be interactive, so don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm really happy to answer them. Some of them, like I said, will be answered in the next couple of weeks as we go into the topics and you get to know your topic coordinators and things like that. But today is really just an overview, as I said. So that's what it looks like. As you're probably looking at the giveaway, so there's some things that we're actually giving away, and some of those things include textbooks. So one of the ones, or two of the ones that we would use all the time. So and they're actually quite expensive. So some lucky person is actually going to score themselves one textbook today, and some other cool stuff that the Australian College of Midwives has donated to us. I just wanted to acknowledge them. Okay, before I go any further, I think I just really want to introduce you to the amazing midwifery team. Unfortunately, not all of them are here today because one of them's been on leave over in Noosa. We're all a tad bit jealous. And one is just on a day off. So, but I'm going to ask them one by one to come up and actually introduce themselves and to get them to tell you a little bit about themselves and also what topics they'll be taking this year. So first of all, I have the absolute pleasure of working with Professor Annette Briley, who's our academic lead for midwifery. Annette is probably one of the most prolific midwifery researchers in the world. And we have her here at Flinders. And I have the absolute privilege of working with her on a day-to-day basis. So.
Yeah, follow that, eh? So I'm Annette Briley. When they wind me up, they call me Prof, but my name's Annette. I don't want to be called anything other than that. I am the academic lead, which means that I'm responsible for the content of what we deliver, making sure that it's evidence-based, up-to-date, and prepares you to look after women and babies of the future. As Meg said, and it's probably my accent is a giveaway, I'm from the UK, but I've been involved in lots of research. I've been here at Flinders for 3 years now. Amazing how fast that's gone. So I've actually seen the first set through. So I came within a few days of starting and spoke to a group just like you and had the pleasure of seeing them graduate just before Christmas. So yes, I agree with Meg totally. Midwifery is a lifestyle. It's the most amazing job in the world. Just glad I did it.
Okay, next is Dr. Vulture Haberberger. So Vulture's one of our lecturers. She is actually in the health science department, so we'll teach you a lot of the science topics. So Vulture.
Thank you. Okay, good morning everybody. So as you've already seen, my name looks German, it is German. So I have got a different accent. My name is Waltraud Haberberger. You can call me Maria as well, which is my second name if this is any easier. Now, my background is actually a medical scientist, and I've got a PhD in pharmacology and majors in physiology and biochemistry. And what I'm going to teach you is for the first years, mainly. And this will be 1014, which is your foundational sciences, mainly anatomy and physiology, starting on Monday. And then for the RNs, it's a distance ed topic called 1018, which then focuses on the anatomy and physiology of the reproductive system and reproduction more in general, so all through pregnancy, labor, and the postpartum period. This one is online, so please go to your topic website, check the link. I put the explanation up. I hope you received the announcement. Are any RNs here today at all? Ah, yes, okay. And collaborate is the one. Once you click on collaborate, you can find the links, and the first sessions are all scheduled for 3 hours on a Tuesday morning, so they will all be Tuesdays in the morning. Don't worry too much if you can't make it. They all will be recorded, but I would encourage everyone, and this counts for the 1014, so all the others here as well. If you can make it, please come along to the practical sessions, because it's an interactive way of learning and also takes place mostly one level downstairs from here, back in the labs. So where we can really have a look at some human specimens, see sheep hearts and lungs and everything in real. And of course you get to ask questions and work together as a group. Does anyone have any questions for me? Because I might not hang around all through the morning. If anything comes up, email me. And then I'll hopefully see most of you on Monday.
Thanks, Paul. So, and then we've got Chloe. Chloe's actually doesn't work on Wednesday this week. So Chloe's a new staff member and started with us at the end of last year. So she's not topic coordinating, but teaching into a lot of the topics. So primarily you will see her a lot in the first 2 clinical topics this year, so 1013 and 1017. So you'll get to meet Chloe soon. And then just to make it more confusing for you, we seem to have a lot of Chloes in the place. So now I'm going to introduce you to Chloe Harris.
Is that it? Is that my intro?
Yeah. You can tell them about yourself.
Everyone got a little,
So Chloe and I have known each other for a long time. Actually, I was teaching over at UniSA for 12 years before I came to Flinders. And Chloe was a student over there, and she was an amazing student and has now ended up working with us, and we're really lucky to have her. So is that good enough for you?
Okay, I'm Chloe, obviously. I started teaching here like mid last year. I'm a clinical teaching specialist, so I work clinically as well at the Lyle McEwen, so down in Elizabeth, if everyone knows where that is. I don't know what else to say. My research, yeah. I love being a midwife. It's a massive passion of mine, but I love women's health. I'm really passionate about it all. I'm currently doing my own research in postnatal sexual health, so that's been a really big interest of mine, and hopefully changing a bit of practice around that, because we don't do it very well, which you'll eventually find out yourself. Is that it?
What topics?
I don't topic coordinate any first year topics, but I'll be teaching into 1013 with a bunch of other people as well.
Yeah.
What else do you want to know?
Topic coordinator for 2011 and 2016.
Yes,
so second
but that
year
could be
topics.
changing
Yeah, probably not, but
next year.
we'll see.
Everything's
Well, 2011 won't be.
Yeah, next year's another. We'll talk about that briefly later. It's a little bit confusing, but I'll explain.
Cool.
Chloe's
Nice to
awesome.
meet you guys. I'll be around. Tony? Is it me? Yeah. Follow that up.
So, Antoinette Amor, otherwise known as Tony.
Yes, so on paper I'm
Oh, no,
Antoinette.
she doesn't want me to introduce her.
No, I do. Sorry.
Don't go for it, go on.
I'll talk about myself instead. Antoinette Amor on paper, but you will call me Tony. I'm also a clinical teaching specialist, so I work at Women's and Children's in the delivery suite. I have a background in midwifery group practice, and I'm the endorsed midwife here, so I also teach into the 2 postgraduate topics for anyone who wants to go on later in life to become a prescribing midwife. I teach in first year and second semester the mental health topic, and then I have third year topics. Yes, and help out in one of the second year topics. Yeah, so I'm full-time for the first time this year, and I teach across the three years, and that's pretty much me.
And your email will actually come up under.
Antoinette Amor.
Yeah.
So don't waste this name.
Yes.
Yes.
I grabbed hold of that name, don't you worry.
Yes.
And Liz. Liz
Hello
is
again.
amazing. She's been part of the furniture here at Flinders for more than 20 years. So I'm going to let her talk about her amazing experience and the contribution she's made.
You'll hear me a little bit later on. Come on in, ladies. There's a table at the front just for you. You can either sit at the table or the chairs on the side. It's all
And
good.
just for those who have come in late, not to call you out.
Because we know parking's annoying.
On the board behind you, there's. Can you just write your names up? We're just taking a little bit of a roll call just to see who's here, so we know, and we can inform those that aren't.
So this is my 20th year at Flinders University. I started as a nursing lecturer, and then did nursing for quite a few years, and then decided for a midlife crisis I'd become a midwife. So I did my midwifery here as well in my mid to late 40s. So I know what it's like doing the RN entry course and trying to work at the same time, and it's impossible. And then I've been in the midwifery course full-time since 2018. I was hybrid for a couple of years. My background is simulation specialist. I love writing scenarios and designing simulation with and without mannequins and role plays and things like that. I've got an added role as the student experience coordinator, which we'll talk about shortly. But my teaching topic coordinators is I'm a first year specialist, I like to say, because I love working with you guys to give yourself a foundation for when you go through the next few years, which is really important to build on a solid foundation. So I'm the topic coordinator for 1011, which is the introduction to midwifery, and also 1012. So you're going to see a lot of me this semester, and you'll see half as much as me next semester because Tony's taking the mental health, but I'm working with a fabulous team with the Indigenous health topic that we do in second semester with Talia Johnson, who's an Indigenous midwife, and Tirapa, who's an Indigenous man, and we have a lot of fun in that topic. And I also look after some third year topics as well, so primary healthcare, and also looking at provisions of professional practice, which is the last time it's running this year. Yes, because next year's a fun new year. I'm also a research nerd. I'm the research advocate for midwifery, so I put my hand up and promote research and postgraduate honours, masters, PhDs. I'm also doing my PhD, and my two supervisors are in the room, so I have to be careful what I say. But my passion for midwifery and particular midwifery research has also led me to developing my own podcast. So I have a podcast called Through the Pinard, THRU, the Pinard, and I actually talk to midwives who have done their PhDs, and that includes talking to some of the most brilliant midwives that we've got, such as Annette, and talking to new midwives who have just got their PhDs, and some of the midwives who have got the first ever to get midwifery PhDs. So listening to their journey, and that's now become my PhD as well, to go through that. So I'll talk to you about the sec role later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Fiona is another one of our associate lecturers, and she's also the placement education coordinator. So for those of you who are starting placement this year, you'll have a lot to do with Fiona. Fiona's the one that's been up in Noosa, and we're all jealous. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here this morning. She may come a little bit later. You might catch her at the end. Fiona's had a long history of working with women's and children's, a highly experienced midwife, worked in MGP in all different places, and just a wealth of knowledge and just a huge asset to our team. So you'll get to know her, and she also takes the neonatal topic in third year, the second science topic at the end of second year, and then the very final clinical topic at the end of your 3 years. So you'll get to see her a lot as well. And then there's me. That's a really, it's a bit large. I always get nervous when I talk about myself, so I'm sorry about the photo. I look a bit older than that one. That was a few years ago. It's the best photo I've got, so excuse that. I'm Dr. Megan Cooper. I'm the course coordinator, as I mentioned earlier. So my background, I came to midwifery later in life. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself, and then sort of fell into midwifery and haven't looked back. In the last 15 years, I've undertaken multiple things. So I did an honours program after I finished my mid, did a PhD in water immersion, so you hear a lot about water birth, tend to divert to that. And then I've done a range of different things after that, including teaching for 12 years at UniSA before I came here, so I've been here for 2 years. And landed myself in the course coordinator position, and have, with the amazing team, have made some significant changes and improvements too. So we're hoping you guys get the benefit of that. Outside of work, I'm also the ACM SA branch chair, and hence why you guys have the pleasure of actually helping yourself to a whole lot of stuff here, because I hit them up. And I'm going to talk a little bit about ACM later today and the amazing benefits that you can get from being a member. And I'm really pleased to say that they've actually waived the fees for 2 years, so students can become a member free of charge, because we know most students are poor. It's true. We've done surveys, we've got data. The researcher in me. And on that note, I'm actually a researcher as well. So my role is actually a balanced position. So I'm part teaching, a little bit of course coordinator, and then I also have a part researcher. I also do a lot of work with Annette and go out to Lyle McEwen when I can get there, which isn't much these days. So that's me. What do I teach? I take the first 3 clinical topics, so 1013, 1017, and then 2013, the first of the second year clinical topics. And I also topic coordinate the evidence or research topics, surprise. So that's me. And then we have a few casual staff members who are around a fair bit. So we've got Larissa. Larissa is another hugely experienced midwife, worked across all different places, all different models of care, just an absolute wealth of experience as well. And so she started with us a couple of months ago, and the students are absolutely loving having her on site and working with her just from all her knowledge and experience. So you'll see here a bit. She's going to be teaching in some of the first year topics as well. Then we've got Sarah. Sarah's also started at the same time as Larissa this year, so her background, she was actually another student of mine over at UniSA. Seems to be a theme here. But is currently working in the special care nursery at Women's and Children's, so has been teaching into the neonatal topic and some of the other topics as well, so can really help you in that neonatal space. And then we've got Sally. Sally has been around for a long time. I met Sally over at UniSA, and then she started teaching over here when I started. She works as a facilitator for us, but also does a bit of casual teaching. So she's also teaching into the first year clinical topic as well. So you'll see her in the next couple of weeks. And Talia. So Talia is our MAUPA cultural navigator, so he works really closely with Liz and Tiripa in the Indigenous topic in first year. So we'll do a lot of work with her, and she'll bring that really important cultural lens to the information and to really get you embedded in that. So she's just another wealth of experience and knowledge. So we've got, as I said, I can't be happier to be working with these amazing women. So I really hope that you enjoy and learn a lot from them. Ask lots of questions, as Liz said before. Do you want to say something?
I was just going to say that Talia's doing her honours as well, and her honours program is actually looking at removal of Indigenous babies and how to get them back to their parents, because there's a high rate of removal and not being returned. So once again, she's doing her honours research, which is going to implement change and practices as well.
I don't know whether it's just me, it's hot because I'm nervous. Thanks, Walter. Okay. Now, you're going to hear a lot from me today, so I'm sorry, you'll get sick of hearing my voice. But I really wanted to talk to you or share with you the amazing profession that is midwifery. How many of you know much about being a midwife? Did you always want to be a midwife? Or did you just pick something in the SATAC guide and go, oh, that looks all right? However you came to midwifery, you'll learn to love it in one way or another. It is, as we've all talked about, it's the best profession in the world, and we get to be with women and families, people at the most important times of their lives. There is no other profession in the world where you get to put hands on a baby first before anybody else. It's just pretty amazing. But I wanted to share with you, I guess, some of the insights and the things that I've learned along the journey, and I'm sure these guys will share some of their insights as well as the day goes on. And surprise, surprise, there's a picture of water birth behind on the slide. I don't know who did that. We're not joking when we say this. So if you don't like paperwork, you don't like writing, you don't like documenting stuff, then midwifery is not the right profession for you. So unfortunately, what comes with midwifery is a whole lot of documentation, not just at being a midwife, but also as a student as well. So over the next 3 years, you will be keeping a portfolio of information that demonstrates you are ready to transition to being a midwife. So get ready for a lot of paperwork. It's a nightmare. We've made some changes to that this year that will hopefully streamline the process a bit. But when I'm talking about a lot of paperwork, I'm talking about 8 lever arch folders full of paper that you will carry around. So we're not joking when we say that. So paperwork like you've never seen before. Sleepless nights. And I swear my coffee's still broken. No matter how much I have, it just doesn't work. Not so much, probably more so now actually. You know, as a midwifery student, you're not only working during the day, but part of the program and part of the accreditation board's requirements for you to register as a midwife, you need to actually work alongside women and families throughout the pregnancy journey and the pregnancy, birth and postpartum journey. So that's what we call our continuity of care experience. All students across Australia are required to do it. You basically recruit women and families, and then you follow their journey through their pregnancy, birth and postnatal period. And there's a number of requirements that need to happen with that. So effectively, about the middle of this year, you'll be on call 24/7. Just watching all your faces. So those big nights when you went out and had a few, maybe not so good now. You know, those nights where you plan something, be prepared for those plans to be thrown out the window. With midwifery comes a lot of commitment, and you know, I'm saying this today because it's the truth. And a lot of students who come in think they can manage a full-time job, they can manage, you know, still keeping up the partying and stuff like that. That's cool if you can do it, but it's really hard to balance that. So if you're going to make a commitment now and throw yourselves into it. Otherwise, come and talk to us about how you can balance that. So it might be a part-time load if you need to. However, we're advising against that, and that will become clear to you as the day or the morning goes on. And that's largely to do with some of the changes that are going to happen next year. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's amazing. It's rewarding. It's the best career in the world, best job in the world, but it comes with a lot of hard work. So be prepared for some sleepless nights. So balancing all of those things is really difficult. So, and that's partly why we're here, because we've been through it, we've lived it, we know what it's like, we know the challenges, we know the highs and the lows, and we can provide that support to you. And so please, if you're struggling at any point in time, come and speak to us. Where I would hope that you would find us approachable and that you can come and speak to us with things that are concerning you, and we can make a plan with you. And there's a number of different ways that we can do that. Not all of them will become clear today, but some of them will, as Liz talks about her role and the ways that she can support you, and also in my role as well. So there's lots of things that we can do if you're struggling, or if there's things that have come up. You know, life happens, we know that, and so we can work with you on that. As I said, you will provide a shoulder to cry on, a hand to hold, and an ear to listen, and you'll be confident when women need it most. We often refer to ourselves as a professional friend. Women often tell us things that they haven't told anybody. And that's a huge privilege, an absolute huge privilege, and so we should never abuse it. We should never take it for granted. And so being a midwife is, you know, it's not just important for us and our lifestyle and our fulfilment, but it's also about what the impact you make to, and it's not just those people in front of you, it's transgenerational. So what you do now for a family has long-term effects. The changes you support women and families to make now will flow on through the family unit and intergenerational. So, you know, I think when you look at it in that way, it becomes a burden on your shoulders, because you know you have the ability and the skills to actually change a generation or more. But take it simply, you just change lives. And you don't know it yet, but you will. You'll be with them at the most important times of their lives, and I've already said that. But the most important thing is learning about the differences amongst us all. So you'll meet people that are like you and have the same likes and same interests and things like that, but most importantly, you'll find people that you may never have associated with who have totally different likes to you, and you might learn something from them. And there's plenty in this room. You know, you're all different. And so today we're going to do a little bit of getting to know each other stuff as well. So learn from each other as much as from us, and we also learn from you. But also when you're out working with women, I would always say that the most amount of information, or the most learning I've done is when I've been with a woman. because they teach me stuff that I didn't know. And I store it all up in my head and call it my library. My library's a bit broken at the moment. There's so much in it. But, you can store it up there and you can use it in future. So it's not just about the birth. It's not about catching a baby. It is so much, midwifery is so much more than that. Who came to midwifery thinking it's about babies? Anyone willing to say? Chloe did. Anyone else? Babies are a very, very small part of midwifery. We're mostly focused on supporting women to be transitioned into motherhood or parents to transition into parenthood. We do a little bit of baby stuff, but that is not our primary role. So I think that the focus needs to be on, how we support women. It's very much women's business, or has been. Things have changed a little bit now, and we're now encouraging partners into the space and really engaging them in the way that we care. But still to this day, we as midwives still talk about midwife means with woman. And at this point I acknowledge that we all acknowledge that not every person identifies as a woman, and therefore we need to be acknowledging of that. But however, we've decided as a team that when we talk about midwifery, we will talk about women with the understanding that there's inclusivity in that. So not every person who births will identify as a woman, so we acknowledge that. This is a really kind of a strange thing, and if you're not a midwife, you don't really understand what we mean by this. But you will learn how to talk about the art and science of midwifery. So Volta talked a little bit this morning about you learning how the body works, how the body changes during pregnancy, how it develops a baby and then goes through the birth process. But on top of that, there's also this thing that we refer to as the art. Now, it's not an art that you draw, it's an art that comes with experience and about communication. It's all about partnership and working alongside people, building that rapport, building their trust, and building that beautiful, it almost is like a portrait. This beautiful portrait that's interwoven, and that you become part of their experience and you really change things for them. You learn about them, they learn about you, and together you navigate this amazing journey. And so that's what we talk about, the art. Does anyone want to add to that? There's Will.
Some of you have already got it in some of the way that you communicate and the way that you can be empathic with people and be able to kind of understand. So it's going to be developing some of the skills that you have, but also maybe getting you to recognise that you have some of that understanding already. So it's not kind of, most of you, if you're wanting to be midwifery, you're here for a reason. And I've read some of the posts already for 1011 and I've been absolutely adoring them. And it is that kind of, you've already partway there to understand, and especially for those who've had children. How many of you have had children? Do you remember your midwives? Yeah, that's the thing, is that people will remember. Annette, you remember your midwives?
Oh, yes.
And her children, her youngest has just turned 30.
Yes.
On New Year's Eve.
But I was looked after by my friends because I delivered in the unit.
So she cheated a little bit. No, she had the advantage.
Sorry, can I just... So before we came here, we live in a little village in the UK, and we've lived there for a long time. And when we left, all the locals had a little party for us because we were leaving the UK. And there was a woman there who I didn't really know, but she was kind of a friend of a friend of a friend. And she came up to me and she said, "You delivered my son 29 years ago, and I will never forget you." And just think, she didn't live in the village. I'm sorry, I'm really emotional about it.
Get used to it. This is what we do often, so it's very emotional. You'll get there one day.
It is really emotional because she'd heard that we were going and she knew it was me, and she set aside that evening to come along and to wish me luck coming here. And I mean, to be honest, I didn't really remember her. Not that I'd looked after her, but yeah, that's the impact that you have.
Yeah. I think the other thing is the intuition, so that gut feeling. When you get it, you'll know it. But as midwives, we're looking at a woman. We're in the moment. We know something's not quite right, or we know she's just about to give birth. But we've got no evidence to say that that's the case. But we know in our gut that something's happening or something's not right. And it's really hard to explain to someone that's never actually experienced it. So that's what we talk about.
Triggering from the library of experiences.
That's what we talk about with the art. So, you know, we will talk a lot about how you build that art over the next 3 years. We have a global impact. You know, the one thing that could change the world's health is midwives. There is no other argument for it. We have all the evidence to prove if every woman, every family had access to a midwife, we would change the world as we know it. We wouldn't have half the disease, half the comorbidities that we see in the population, particularly in third world countries. We make such an impact, and we need to continue to sell that as the bee's knees of the health world. Unfortunately, midwives are still not recognised. So some of you might not even have known what a midwife was before you looked at the SATAC guide. And when some of the research proves that even in our general population, people still don't know what a midwife does. We still get referred to as nurses. So someone will say to me, "You're a nurse?" And I'm like, "No, I'm a midwife." And they go, "Oh, you're a nurse." No, I'm not. I'm not a nurse. I'm a midwife. So these guys are nurses as well, but I'm a midwife only. I don't say only a midwife because of this very thing. We can change a globe. We have such impact. So remember that when you're out there. And you will become one of the most trusted professionals that people have ever come across. They will, as I said, they will tell you things that they will not even tell their partner. They'll tell their best friend. They'll tell you things, and you might not even know what to do with that. But be open to hearing those things and listening and supporting that woman with whatever it is that she needs. And I love this. It's probably my favourite quote of all time. So what we do as midwives, we don't do. We support, we guide, we stand alongside. If we're not doing it right. So we are trying to empower and support women to do it themselves. That is our ultimate goal. And obviously we can step in if there are deviations from what we would call normal. So you will make contribution to this planet, to this world, and you will do it in a way that makes huge impact. So don't downplay how important you are. It's an exceptional profession, and we truly welcome you and are so grateful to see you today. And we can't wait to actually get to know you and learn more about you and walk this journey with you. So thank you.
It's your drawing, isn't it?
That is mine, yes. So we're all a bit arty-farty, so this is one of my drawings. So this was a woman who had, fascinating, she had a water birth. And I used a picture for one of my presentations, and I asked her if I could reproduce her picture. So it's one of my drawings, but all of us are a little bit arty-farty in our own ways. So, Chloe, you are. So I could get her to come up and actually reproduce this, but I'm just going to play it. So this is Annette in a video that was done. So she's going to get embarrassed.
No.
Hopefully the sound comes on.
Hi, I'm Annette Briley. I'm Professor of Women's Health and Midwifery Research at Flinders University and the North Adelaide Local Health Network, funded in part by the Hospital Research Foundation.
Is the midwifery degree as hard as I've heard it is?
That's a difficult one. I don't think anything's hard if it's what you really want to do. It is tougher than a lot of university degrees, but on top of full-time studying, you've also got your placements. You'll have periods when you're in university and doing lectures and the more traditional university education, and then you'll have times when you'll have your placements. So you'll be in one of the maternity services across Adelaide and indeed rural and remote as well. You also have to follow through a certain number of women, so you have to do a certain number of antenatal visits with them, be there and hopefully deliver their baby, look after them through labour, and then visit them postnatally. Yes, you probably could do an easier degree, but like most degrees in any of the health services, it's got that clinical component. Can you tell me what it would take to become a midwife? You have to be a caring person, you've got to be empathetic, you've got to come around the head, and you've got to be quite resilient because you are working with people in very stressful environment. When it does go wrong, and maybe the baby isn't very well, the baby dies, or worse still, the mother dies, it's really tough. So I think one thing I would say about midwives is it's a real community. So you will rely very heavily on a peer group of support. So probably to be a good midwife, you need to be a really good team player. So it's about caring for the families that you look after, but also caring for yourself.
Can you describe a typical day in the life of a midwife?
To be totally honest, there is no typical day in the life of a midwife. And that's one of the lovely things about it actually. You can be based in a lot of different situations. So you can be in the community, you can be working in the women's home, GP surgery, or you can be in a hospital and you can be working in the clinic or in the antenatal areas where women are unwell and they're admitted into hospital. You can be in the labour ward or the birth centre or in the postnatal ward, or you can be visiting women postnatally at home with their babies. So not only can your day be very varied in terms of your tasks, but it can be very varied in duration as well.
What is the most rewarding thing about being a midwife?
I think it's the best job in the world, but I'm bound to say that. People do don't live forever. I think you have an amazing opportunity to impact women antenatally and influence the health of the family with your help and advice. And women will ask you all sorts of things. It's a really special relationship. It's kind of like a professional friend. But those women, if they meet you in the street years later, they'll still remember you.
How do you create work-life balance as a midwife?
So I think work-life balance is always difficult if you're committed to any career. If you're looking after women and you're doing your follow-throughs in your training or you're part of a midwifery group practice, then you will be on call. So it is just about making sure that when you're off duty, you are off duty and you have got hobbies and friends and you make the most of those times. But I guess that's just the same for anyone who works in the healthcare situation.
Yay. Okay, so we talked about community and talked about getting to know, and I know we did a little bit of stuff this morning, just getting to know the person next to you. And now I want you all to stand up. And now we're going to do a bit of speed dating. So I want you to walk, I just want you to walk randomly around the room. Do not just push all the chairs in because we don't want anyone falling over or drink bottles broken. So I just want you to walk around aimlessly, and then I'm going to tell you to stop, and whoever's standing in front of you, I want you to just have a conversation with. All right, go, walk. Get that blood moving. We'll share some chocolates. All right, stop. Whoever you're next to, have a conversation with. I love the music. Okay, I said it was speed dating. Walk again. Find somebody else. Go the opposite way this time. Don't follow the person you were sitting next to. All right, stop. Find somebody else. last time. One more and then we'll come back. Get the blood flowing. Okay, find somebody else you haven't spoken to. Okay, love it. Now I can't shut you up. All right, go back to your seats. That was a bit different to when you first walked in. That was great. So did you learn a little bit about some people? I hope so. All right, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of the course and what it looks like. So here at Flinders, we actually have two different pathways. So one for those who are coming in without a nursing degree or a nursing background, and those who don't have a nursing background. So you know, once upon a time you had to be a nurse before you were a midwife, and now you don't have to be anymore. You can come straight in. So the Bachelor of Midwifery pre-registration, and I assume most of you are in that cohort. There's a 3-year full-time or 6-year part-time option. The 2-year program is for those who are registered nurses, and that's to acknowledge that they have prior background and they've built, had the opportunity to work in a clinical environment and build therapeutic relationships. So they automatically get some credit for some of the topics that we would do in the undergraduate pathway. So that's a 2-year program, but can be done over 4 years. So that's the maximum time. Now, if there are any extenuating circumstances, we can elongate that a little bit, but we try and encourage you to fit it within at least that 6-year period. So if you're doing full-time load, 3 years, but we can extend it out to 6 if need be. You'll learn a lot of stuff. It's jam-packed. There's a lot of information that you're going to be looking at, learning about, and using when you go out and work as a midwife. So these are just some of the things. So law and ethics and professional practice, which is some of the things that Liz will cover in 101.1 and 101.2. So what it is to be a midwife and what are the professional obligations that you're bound by and the professional standards that you need to work to when you're out there as a midwife. So So talking about ethics as well. So how do we ensure that we're doing no harm and we're doing the best by people that we're caring for? The skills, so in the labs, so the clinical topics focus a lot on, putting the skills into practice, so practicing in our high fidelity, high technology environments where we have cool mannequins that talk to you. It's a bit scary for some, but you get used to it after a while and then learn to love it. Aboriginal health and cultural safety, primary health care. So as midwives, we're primary health care practitioners. So we look at how do we stop things from happening before they go pear-shaped. So that's one of our key little marks, because we try and stop things before they go. And that's why a lot of people won't fund us, what we now research, and why we have so much trouble trying to get money, because they can't make money off of things when they don't happen. So, we try and avoid drugs, whereas a lot of people make money off of drugs. So we often don't get money for research. So when we do, we celebrate it hard. Nutrition, psychology and mental health. So Tony is going to take you for the mental health topic. So we look at, mental health is such a huge thing in our society now, and it's women who are having babies are not immune to it, and nor are their families. So we need to look at that in the context of, the pregnancy and childbearing journey. Research and evidence-based practice, I don't know why, just joking, it underpins everything that we do. So, a lot of us are researchers, have been in the research space and understand the importance of being informed by evidence. If we don't know why we're doing it, then we shouldn't be doing it. Sociology and population health, clinical science and pharmacology, and of course anatomy and physiology. You need to know how the body works in order to understand how things change when you're pregnant. And that's really what midwifery practice is about. There's so many other things, but that's just really a snapshot. The course is based on the premise of 50% theory and 50% clinical. So you'll do the equivalent number of hours out in the clinical environment. That doesn't include the simulation space. That is purely just placement hours, as you do here at university. So those theory hours will also include us practicing in the labs, you working through the simulation suite. Has anyone been to the simulation suite yet and had a look? We're going to be using that in first year. So previously we weren't, and now we will be. So we'll get you in there and using that space. So very much based on this 50% theory, 50% clinical. This is a lot of information in a slide, but this is the first year for what we call the BMidU, or the Bachelor of Midwifery pre-registration pathway. The green ones are the clinical topics. So you've got 8 topics in the first year. So 101.1 and 101.2 are really your foundational. 101.3 is what I coordinate and is the first clinical topic. 101.4 is the sciences that Vulture was talking about before. Then we've got mental health, Indigenous health for midwives, the next clinical topic, and then anatomy and physiology of reproduction. In second year, you have 6 topics, and that's because the clinical topics become what we call 9 units. So the others in the first year, they're only 4.5. In second year, they're 9 units. So they're basically a double topic. And around that, you've got maternal and infant nutrition, which is the topic that Chloe takes, and then clinical pharmacology for midwives. So learning about the medications and things that we would use and diagnostics that are common in midwifery. Then in the second semester, you do the evidence topic, and then a little bit more applied pharmacology and the pathophysiology that can happen, and then your second clinical topic at the end of the year. And then third year actually has 3 clinical topics. So we've got Liz also takes 3011, which is looking at midwifery from a primary healthcare perspective or global perspective. And then you've got 2 clinical topics in the first part of the year. One is the neonatal topic, which Fiona takes, and then 3013, which Tony is TC for. So women's health is also part of our scope of practice, while you might not know that. So sexual and reproductive health, contraception, all those kinds of things. Women's health across the lifespan is actually within our scope, gynecology kind of stuff. A lot of people don't realise that, but it is actually within our definition of being a midwife and also within our scope. And then in the last semester of the program, you've got basically your capstone topics, which is your final practicum clinical topic, but also one that talks about how do you transition to being a midwife. And there's also one about the complexities that come with, that women often come to pregnancy with. So we'll cover all of that. So that's the 3 years of the undergraduate pathway. Now, as I said, the RNs who come in, they get a little bit of credit. So this is what their pathway looks like. Same topics, but some of them you just don't do as an RN. And then they've got a choice between these. So the evidence topic, because these two are commonly like a similar topic in the nursing pathway. So they can choose between one of those. You might have mentioned to me there's a big changes happening next year. This is an official photo of Annette and I in the last couple of months. So we probably don't look like that, but we did probably a few weeks ago.
I think we probably still do a bit.
Yeah, probably. So every 5 years, the Bachelor of Midwifery at any university needs to be reaccredited. And so we've just gone through that process, and our new curriculum is due to roll out next year. So as new starters this year, you'll actually transition to a new program in second year. Now, I don't want you to panic. Let us do the panicking. We just want you to know that it will be a smooth transition. So we've set it up so your first year will slide into second year without a hitch. But more of that information will become clear, or we will share with you as the weeks and months roll on. So at the moment we've just submitted it, which we're really excited about. We're really excited for the new curriculum and what it will bring. But we don't we haven't got their feedback back yet, so we've got a little bit of work to do before we can actually share it with you and let you know what's going to be happening moving forward. So what I've just shown you is probably going to change, but it'll give you some idea of what to expect. Then there's some new topics in there that aren't in the current curriculum, but some of them align quite nicely. So, but we will share that information with you. I just wanted to give you that insight. Don't want to stress you out. Please don't stress about it. We let us do the stressing, and we will try to make that process as smooth as possible when we finally get there. Okay, I've just got a little bit of a video on the clinical labs.
Flinders University are leaders in health and in care, and we are focused on the growth and development of our nursing and midwifery programs, both at an undergraduate and a postgraduate level.
Nursing and midwifery are both very long-standing professions. Indeed, midwifery is the second oldest profession in the world, and it's always been based around the intrinsic values of care and compassion.
We offer a variety of learning experiences through multimodal education. In terms of nursing and midwifery theory, this is offered in the classroom and online, and we also offer a chance to practice and consolidate nursing skills through placements and labs.
The midwifery course at Flinders is very student-focused. It happens in two areas, at the university, in the classroom and the simulation laboratories, but also a really important part is in placement. And student midwives are placed within the public and private sectors in a variety of venues. This means that they can have a real opportunity in the safety of being students to be supervised in their clinical practice.
We have state-of-the-art labs, and some of the benefits include our high-fidelity mannequins, which are mimicking patients, so it gives students a chance to practice their skills and their patient care in a safe way. We also have simulated hospital environments, so we're mimicking a ward environment that students would experience on placement and as a registered nurse in their practice. Another interesting experience that we offer is called HoloLens. It's a mixed reality experience, so students are given the chance to put on a headset and then they can witness high-level patient experiences that they wouldn't necessarily get the chance to be involved in on placement. So, for example, a cardiac arrest situation, or nursing care that's offered to a burns patient. One of the other benefits of studying at Flinders is an innovative teaching technique called Mask Ed, in which we can mimic a real-life patient situation. The educator actually puts on a silicone mask to become a patient character, and then can help direct the scenario and guide the students' learning. The educator can then take off that mask and debrief the students on what went well, what didn't go so well, and what they can work on next time. We have a really large team of educators. They come from all sorts of different clinical backgrounds. So we have nurses from the emergency department, the operating room, the intensive care unit, the Royal Flying Doctors, the Defence Force, aged care and paediatrics, just to name a few. Our nursing team have a lot of experience working in the field, and this is really great in helping prepare our students from that really important transition from student nurse to graduate registered nurse. We have a wonderful welcoming culture at Flinders University where we really focus on student development, and we have skills that are really important in life that are embedded in every subject that we offer. The student experience is our central value, as are many of the values that we demonstrate through our teaching. So these include autonomy in practice, integrity, honesty, and maintaining human dignity.
Okay, I show you that video. I mean, it's helpful to see the labs. But is there anything missing from that? Midwifery. Yeah, get used to saying end midwifery, because that's your life. We're forever doing it, aren't we? So people will often automatically revert to nursing. So make sure you stand up and say end midwifery. Include midwives in that. So we need to redo this, but we haven't had time to do it, so I thought I would show it to you anyway. But I'm sure there's tours going on. What's that?
Purple shirts wear midwives.
Yeah, the purple shirts wear the midwives, and you'll be wearing those shortly. But yeah, it's one of those things you don't get used to. You get frustrated by it, but make sure they know you're there. And we've done it at conferences and all different places. Don't worry. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Liz now. Who's going to talk a little bit about. We've been having an argument this morning whether it's experience or engagement. So same thing, same deal. Whichever one it is, just call it the SEC. So I'm going to hand over to your SEC.
Engagement, experience, I think the professional stuff down the front of experience as well. Also looking at pastoral care. So there's a lot of the time you'll have issues, questions, concerns. And as with anything, we'll have a hierarchy of where you need to go. If you have any concerns about something related to the topic, then the best person to go to is your tutor, who will quite often be the topic coordinator, or that will be the next person. So if it's related to a topic, go and see them first. If it's related to clinical practice and it's about rostering or anything like that, then the PEC, so that will be Fiona, will be the person to kind of go to. If it's anything about kind of like something personal, something that you're needing some extra assistance with, and you've gone through those people and you haven't got the information, or it's something a little bit outside, then feel free to also CC me into those requests as well. And I can see maybe it's something that I can connect you with other services around the university. There's quite a lot of services around the university. As part of your fees, you will all be paying, including us as postgraduate and PhD students, the student amenities fees. Those student amenities fees help fund student health and the student health and counselling service. They fund the student learning service. They fund a lot of the services that you can actually have access to, and you don't pay for them because that's where that kind of money goes to. And we've got connections with them as well. So if you've got any type of physical, mental or emotional condition that you think is going to affect your studying, then what we recommend you do is actually look at the Student Health and Counselling webpage, look at the disability page and look for access plans. And have a read through that. You need to get a form filled in by a health professional and then make an appointment with one of the disability officers, and then they will sit down and go, okay, so what extra help do you need that the university can help you with? And it may be extra times for an exam, maybe larger fonts. Most of the stuff that we do is going to be online anyway, so you can change the font size. And so that kind of helps you. They do not tell us what your primary diagnosis is. What they will give us is a plan with an end date. It's usually to the end of your course, unless there's something that only makes it shorter. And then they'll just say you need extra time in the exam, and that will actually be counted on. So we don't get to tell unless you want to disclose with us. Now, if you have anything that's going to potentially impact your ability to do your clinical placement, then that will be a good idea to come and talk to us, one of us as well, either Megan as course coordinator, Fiona as the PEC, or including myself, and then we can sit, because what you might need is a fitness for practice to go online. So there's some things that are fine, but especially like if you have an injury and you break your leg or you have a knee replacement surgery like I have, you need to have a form to say you're fit to go back onto placement again. So that's kind of health and wellbeing. I'm more than happy to meet we've got a little spare office. We can meet off campus. I can make phone calls. I can also quite often doing Teams, so kind of arranging for a time. And I did 2 last night, I think one at 5:30 and one at 6, where I just phoned a couple of students. Because sometimes a 5-minute phone call is a lot easier than an email trail that goes backwards and forwards and gets more frustrating. So we can arrange times. Obviously during hours is better, but sometimes if you're teaching all day, and most of us will have full days out when we're teaching all day, so you might not be able to get to anyone. And this is also part of that communication and etiquette. We're going to go through that a little bit next week. Hey? And yeah, the volume of emails, like sitting here, I've had time off for surgery and I'm still cutting through, I've got to cut through something like, and I had reminder messages on so people didn't email me, and I've still got several hundred, and I know that Megan gets kind of thousands because of the other things that we're involved in as well. So we will get back to you.
So it's not that we don't like you if we don't reply. I don't want you to think that. It's
we haven't
just
got
that
to
sometimes that just the volume of emails that comes through means your email that might have only been sent half an hour ago is being pushed right down the list. So if you can't get a hold of us, I'd always advise us to give us a call. Any one of us, because if you're trying to get a hold of me or Liz or any one of us, if you call one of us, they'll let us know that you've called and we can get back to you. But sometimes email is probably the worst option. The forums, Yvette said, more general question in the topics are a better option because it means everyone gets the same information and we check that regularly. But email often is the worst kind of communication that we have because it's so easy for our inbox to get backed up really quickly.
And we talk to each other.
No.
We talk to each other, and quite often I'm quite transparent, and I will not BCC, I will CC in people because that's who the other people are related to. Because we're a small team and we're in the one physical space, it means that we can have those communications and sort something out. So it may be that you've emailed Megan, for example, and she's actually ended up flicking it to me, and then I come back and answer you. So we kind of, depending on whose kind of responsibility it comes under. One of the other things about student engagement that I'm kind of responsible for is also looking at student reps. So you will have all seen as part of your flow topics, there'll be one called the Midwifery Communications Hub, Central Communications Hub. Now that was a little creation that we made because of COVID. Everyone in the cohort, undergraduate and postgraduate, are actually automatically enrolled into that topic. So any emails, any information that we want to go out to everyone, or we want to go out to the third years for attention, we will actually put through there. So everyone gets to read it, but not all third years are enrolled in each topic. So to make sure we don't catch or miss any of the part-timers or any of the different cohorts, we're using that comms hub. So you'll see there's one out there that is a call for student reps. So we're looking at student reps for the year levels and also for some topics. So have a read of that. That kind of expressions of interest closes on the 20th of March because that's when just after the second and third years come back. And that's a requirement of 4 meetings a year, comes in with us. You sit and talk with your cohorts, just email each other, kind of friendship groups and class groups, find out what the concerns are. And we like coming in with hearing what your problems are, but you also saying how you think we can fix it. So coming in with the solutions. Because that also, we've got so many things we're thinking about and we may think that it's fixed and you might come in and go, actually, no, this isn't working because of this, this and this. And we think if you did this, that will make it better. Now, sometimes that will be brilliant. Sometimes it's not possible for a lot of other reasons. But coming in with solutions is really kind of cool. And we're open to anything and we'll fight for anything. But sometimes we've got kind of things that we can't go beyond as well. We also have calls for students. So who did an open day tour last year? There's a couple of familiar faces. Yeah, so you would have had some student reps also would have been on those days. And so they're kind of, it's really good to speak to another student. Because, well, we'll tell you the truth, don't worry, we're going to tell you the truth. But it's also nice just sometimes to speak to another student. So there's a few events during the day, and it's usually the August 14th, 15th, 16th, that weekend is our open day weekend. And so we'll be asking for tours for that. You'll have also seen, and some of you have also put your names down already, thank you very much, the opportunity to experience some cross-discipline education sessions with the paramedics. So that's kind of up on the comms hub as well. So if there's some vacancies on the Google Sheets, that's every Tuesday. So you've got to work out when your classes are, please. So one class is at 3 and one class is at 1 till 3 and one's at 3:30 till 5:30. These are on top of, and obviously for first years, it's about observing how the paramedics work in obstetric emergencies and situations to give them an idea of what they do in the home. You're not expected to know what to do or to handle, but they're really happy to have you as observers, and we're trying to make this a yearly thing and to include it into a more formalised session as well. So have a look at that. Some of those things will be advertised there. Positions, assistants in midwifery will also be advertised there that we know as well. And we're going to introduce you to Meg Alexander next week. So there's a lot of things about how you can engage within the university and how the university can engage with you that comes through me. And if you've got any questions along that line, we can do that. And if you have any suggestions, 2 of the third years have already started a conversation about doing a birth kit bundling day. And so we're trying to think about doing something on the International Day of the Midwife, which is May 5th, when we think most people are on campus. You guys are on campus with classes, the third years are on campus with classes. I'm not sure if the second years are. So we're trying to work out what we can do and do something to symbolise and work out the global midwifery. And the theme this year for the International Day of the Midwife is the art and science of midwifery. So part of 1011 is you're actually going to be creating an artefact. And that artefact can be anything. We're going to talk about it later on, but it's about the reproductive system and the pelvis and the anatomy. So what we might do is for those who are actually feeling brave, depending on what you create, we might see if we can put a little exhibition out on International Midwives Day as well and really midify the campus for that day. Is that a word? Midify? Can we midify something? Let's just turn it purple. Any questions, any concerns? If you're stressing about something, because you will at one stage or another, please feel free to come see me. Come and see any of us if we're around. It's because we're teaching, the chances of somebody being in the office and not being in a meeting or not doing something or marking, it's better to kind of try and make an appointment to come and talk to us. And we will have some set times on that we'll put out to say that somebody will be in the office if you want some drop-in sessions, because otherwise someone may not be there or they may be in meetings and online meetings. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So with the paramedicine class, if we can't make it this year, is it going to be
So the paramedicine and midwifery IPE workshops, yeah. So we used to have some joint activities with the medical students, and that lasted for about 5 years. COVID kind of did us in for that. And then the whole life's changed and we haven't been able to get back to it. So now that we're basically roomies with the paramedics, so we share offices in the same kind of like space. We're really excited and we want to develop it even more. And so it's very ad hoc at the moment. You'll get a certificate of attendance that can go into your personal CV. And we're trying to, part of the new curriculum in third year, there's going to be a topic that hopefully there'll be a topic that actually includes it so we can make it a little bit more formalised. But yeah, we want to develop it more, not just with paramedics. We're also talking about a couple of ad hoc events that may be to do with mass casualty, that we can actually bring in paramedics, medicine, nursing and midwifery and actually have... We've done it once with nursing, medicine and paramedics, because I was with nursing then, and now that I'm midwifery, it's obviously going to bring midwifery in. So we've got the structure for it, we want to do it. So there's a few things, but when you've got a lot of other things happening, there's time and place to get it in. But absolutely, we're wanting to do more and more of that because that's fun learning. Oh, cool. Okay, so for those that may not have heard, her daughter was born in an ambulance. The paramedics would love that story.
No, they wouldn't.
They'd love the story, but not the clean-up afterwards.
Is anyone a paramedic in the room? Because we often have paramedics that actually come to midwifery from those experiences because they don't know what to do. So we're working a lot with... I've just been doing some recordings with James, who takes the topic for them that covers all the obstetric emergencies, and he's been interviewing me about what we would do, and then sort of dulling it down to just talk about what they would do, because they don't have a lot of equipment, and obviously it's in the back of a bus. So yeah, it's really fun.
And we know we've got scenario places with the sim labs that we can set up for home birthing. So we can do some activities with us and paramedics for home birthing. We also know that in community and in country hospitals, that because births may or may not happen there frequently, and they don't have a lot of staff, that there's an agreement with the paramedic staff that if they do need extra staff for births, they'll actually call the paramedics in. So once again, it's trying to maintain skills they don't get a lot of time to use as well. And just to let you know, as of last year, as of now, there are still 11 unfilled country midwifery TPP placements. So the country and rural is a good place to kind of go as well, and to think about moving out. You can get different types of experiences, but there are positions, they're desperately crying out for midwives out there as well. Yes?
I just come from Mount Gambier, and there was talk that they're actually shutting down birthing at the hospital.
Yeah, they can't get staff.
Yeah, and this is what happens. TPP, Transition to Professional Practice Program. So that's your old staffing year. So the
graduate year.
Graduate year for the year after you finish. They're changing the process to this at the moment, of the way that you register for it and apply for jobs, and it's a matching with South Australia Department of Health and also with the private health for a year of 0.84 usually, so just under full time. And it gives you a chance to consolidate your skills in one place, usually between 2 or 3 different areas. You'll hear a little bit about that next week, and then you'll hear more about that in third year when we look at your applications for it as well. But that's one pathway. There are several pathways that you can actually go to after you graduate as well. Any other questions? Fabulous.
Cool. Guess what? You get to hear from me again. Fiona would have done this part, but she's not here, so I'm just going to cover it. So the PEC role is basically the placement education coordinator, and sort of works with the work integrated learning unit, or what we call the WIL unit, who basically manages all the placements. So each discipline has a PEC and a SEC, and the PECs meet together and have a discussion about how placement can be optimised, and where we can get extra placements from, because placements are actually really hard to come by these days. And then the PEC also works with the topic coordinators, who are overseeing the clinical topics, but also works with the facilitators. So when you go out to clinical placement, you'll have facilitators that will be either in the environment or will come to see you while you're on placement and will engage with you, and they kind of liaise with you and then feed back to us about how you're going on placement. So the PEC sort of oversees all of that kind of stuff and works really closely with me around, placement, your experiences and your progress on placement. So that's really what the PEC role is and does. In terms of placements, this is kind of what it looks like at the moment. Like I said, it's all up in the air at the moment because we don't know what, we kind of know what next year's going to look like, but we kind of don't. But this is what it looks like at the moment. So you've got a 1-week placement that's attached to 1013 in first year, which is you could go to any area, and it's very much an observational placement, although I'm trying to change that. So we're trying to get your skill base up so you can actually engage and do more. And then you've also got, once we've done 1013, you start to recruit your continuity of cares. So you start recruiting women to engage in their antenatal appointments, and you might even get to attend their births even early in the first part of the year. So in the second half of the year, you do a 2-week placement, which is across antenatal, postnatal, and gynae kind of wards, and also home visiting, so or domiciliary care, where women have gone home, bless you, go home after birth, and then they get visited at home. So that's another placement that you have the opportunity to be engaged in. And then we go to second year, and as I said, it's going to change slightly, so we've got to map this across, and we've done a little bit of that already, but at the moment it's around about a 6-week placement, both both semesters, and that probably won't change for you guys next year when the new curriculum rolls out. So that's kind of what it looks like. At the moment, we require all students to do 15 continuities if they're coming through the undergraduate pathway, and that is likely to stay the same with the new curriculum. For RNs who are coming in and they're doing the 2-year pathway, they only have to do 10, and that's just because they've got less time to do it in. So. And obviously we're giving them some credit for the work they've already done prior. So anyone got any questions about...
That is a minimum.
It's a minimum, so you can do more. So we don't set these numbers. We're accredited for those numbers. So whatever we put up here is up to the absolute minimum that you need to meet in order to register as a midwife, but we actually encourage you to do more than what the minimum is, if that makes sense. So has anyone got any questions about the placement? Yeah? Depends on whether you're doing part-time, as in you're doing part of theory, part of clinical, or whether you're just doing purely theory and then going to clinical. So it's really hard to... it depends on the pathway. So with the clinical topics, they're all prerequisites for the next one. So it just depends on... I can't give you a definite answer because it depends on your pathway. But generally speaking, if you... do a clinical topic, you'll do whatever the hours are attached to that clinical topic. And then if you want to go part-time, then you would, as long as you've done the one before, you can do the next one, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question? I probably didn't.
You can't do like 3 weeks of placement here and then 3 weeks at another topic.
No, because they attach to the actual topic. So in order to pass the topic, you need to meet those clinical hours for the topic, if that makes sense.
We're also restricted because we have 6 weeks for us and 6 weeks for UDSA. So we share the time.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily mean you'll do 6 weeks straight. So is that what you're asking me? Okay. So we've got 4 6-week blocks throughout the year that we utilise. And then you might do, say, if you're doing a 6-week block that's attached to 2013, for example, you might do 2 weeks in the first 6-week block and then 4 weeks in the second 6-week block for the first half of the year. Does that make sense?
And you'll get those dates.
Yeah, you'll get those in advance. So the rosters close 6 weeks before the start of the placements, and so generally once they're locked in with the venues, then they'll be sent out to you, so you'll have that in advance. I guess I want to preface everything with placement's really hard to come by now, so it's really important that you attend. Again, once these hours are accredited, you must meet these hours in order to register as a midwife. So even if you miss a shift, you must make it up. Yes, you can have sick leave, but if you're sick, you need to redo that shift at a later date. So whatever the hours are, the hours that you need to meet in order to register. So, but yeah, you don't necessarily always do a 6-week block as 6 weeks straight. Some students have this year because that's the way it's fallen. But sometimes you might do 4 weeks and then 2 weeks, or 2 weeks and then 4 weeks, and you get a bit of a gap. For those students who are doing 6 weeks this year, they're cheering because they're looking at their timetable and we've got nothing, absolutely nothing. They're like, what are we going to do with ourselves? So they're a bit stressed about not having anything to do. So that's the undergraduate pathway, and then this is the postgraduate, so the RNs. Very similar. Again, the hours that would be attached to the clinical topics that they don't do are given in credit, and that's for their prior experiences. Anyone else got a question? There'll be more information about this as the weeks go on. Yep.
Just to add on to the part-time question, so the continuity of care experiences, if I were to do, say, the 6 years, can I do those in the last 3 years, or do I have to do them all?
No. So we had a little bit of when I first came along, it was you had to be enrolled in a clinical topic in order to be engaged in continuity of cares. What we now understand is it was an insurance issue. So I sort of investigated that with Annette's help, and we've now found out as long as you're enrolled in any topic, you can recruit continuities. So say you do a clinical topic and then you go part-time, you don't do another clinical topic until the next year. As long as you've done the first clinical topic, you can continue to recruit COAS. So we call them COAS just for short, or follow-throughs or whatever. We used to call them follow-throughs, but now they're COAS. The only stipulation around that is you must complete 1013 because that provides you with the foundational skill base in order to actually engage in the important stuff that you need to. There's no point just sitting there in the corner being pushed to the side. You might as well be doing something while you're there and making those experiences count. So what I've done with 1013 is make sure that from the minute you get into the lab, so not next week but the week after, you're actually doing stuff. So you can go out there and you can be engaged from COS from the word go. So you start to knock off those really quickly. But yeah, we clarified that, so there was a bit of confusion around that. So students who had recruited COS who then withdrew or had a intermission or went part-time, then had to hand over their COS to somebody else or cease the thing. They can actually continue them now as long as they're enrolled at least one topic. Anyone else got any questions? Okay, so as I mentioned, we've got this accrediting body called ANMAC, or Australian Nursing and Midwifery Accreditation Council, and it's the lovely people we've been working with over the last few months. So as I said, we don't set the standard, we don't set the minimum amount of requirements that you need to achieve. There is a set number by them, and these are what they are. So, and they go across the full spectrum of care. So for antenatal care, you need to do 100 antenatal visits. Actually, this is wrong, I haven't updated this. We no longer require you to do abdominal palpations. You've got 40 complex care. Probably should just ignore this because I actually haven't updated it, and we made some changes this year. So basically, the minimum you need to do for antenatal is 100 antenatal appointments. Now that sounds like a lot, but it's not much. They accumulate really quickly. If you do a week in clinic, you'll almost knock all of those over in that 1 week. Okay, so, but what we really want you to do is, the varied experience, where you've actually learnt something from those. So, if it's something new, document it. And I argue document everything that you do. Goes back to my first point about documentation everywhere and the massive amounts. So ignore these last few. Sorry, I didn't update this, I forgot to. And then we've got intrapartum care. So basically, when a couple of us went through, we would needed to do 40 spontaneous vaginal births. So you needed to be an active accoucheur, so you actually had to have hands-on. There's changed a little bit now because of the way that care's changed. So back in the day, we didn't have a almost 50% rate of caesarean sections. So that's made it really challenging for midwifery students and even obstetricians in training to actually be able to get the births that they need. So ANMAC revised this and they require you to do 30. And the wording's changed and you just have to be a primary attendant or be an active participant in the birth. And we'll talk a little bit about that, in the future. And in addition to that, because obviously you might be at a woman's labour and everything's going swimmingly well and then something happens and then she might go to caesarean section or she might need to have an instrumental birth and you go, I didn't get that birth. So ANMAC realised that and they introduced this thing called first stage labour care. So they're acknowledging that you've actually been part of that woman's experience and you've provided that care, but it actually hasn't then resulted in you getting a birth as such. So they've acknowledged that. So it's now still the 40, but 10 of those are actually regardless of whether you've been involved in the birth or not, or you might have been gone to caesarean section, but it's not actually a spontaneous vaginal birth. So that's what they required. We've also got a couple of things. As I said, this has been updated, so I apologise that I missed this when I was going through. It was kind of late last night. And then similarly to antenatal, postnatal care. So again, you need to do a minimum of 100 postnatal appointments. Postnatal traditionally was really hard to get because a lot of women go home now within the first week after birth and even though our scope of practice as midwives goes up to 6-week postnatal, we often don't see women, so they often get referred to maternal child health nurses, and so a lot of the time we don't actually see them beyond that first week. That's changing now with midwifery group practice. Most of the time if the woman has a known midwife and they're getting followed through like you will be with your COS, they're seeing women more often. So we want to maintain our scope of practice up to 6 weeks. So we're encouraging students to be engaged in those experiences, those appointments beyond that first week. And they might be with the GP or they might be with the obstetrician at 2 weeks if the woman's had a caesarean section. Anytime the woman actually engages with a health professional, you're able to attend. But it's about knowing what's going on at each stage postnatal. So that's another aspect of what you need to achieve. The complex thing is complex because of what I've done up here and I haven't changed it. But NMAC specified that you need to do 40 complex care episodes across the full spectrum of care. So from antenatal through birth and then postnatal. It doesn't matter what that looks like. So initially we specified that you needed to do so many antenatal, so many births and so many postnatal. We've changed that now because it's actually not an NMAC requirement that it's a specific focus. You can do 40 complex across the full spectrum and it doesn't matter what mix that is. The only difference with that is that the complex care of the neonate is separate. So anything to do with the woman across a pregnancy, birth and postnatal is classified as a complex care, and then we have a separate complex care for the neonate. So again, I know this is a lot of information to take in today. We will go through it in great detail, let me tell you. And then obviously I've talked about the continuity of care experiences. So students in the undergraduate pathway will do 15 and the RNs will do 10. That's not likely to change with the new curriculum, so you can be pretty certain that that's the way it'll be. And then the other thing with the neonates is we do 20 physical examinations of the neonates, so basically checking the baby from head to toe. And we'll talk through that in the first clinical topic as well, so you can start them from the word go. Whoop, I'm going to trip over the chair. So I talked about the continuity of care experience. So, probably the last 30 years, we've really come to understand what midwives do and the impact that they make on women and families and health and wellbeing across the generations and the globe. And so there was one of Annette's supervisor for a PhD, Jane Sandor over in the UK, was looking at continuity of care with a midwife. And, there's been so much evidence now, so much, that we can't deny the fact that, and I talked about this before, that a midwife is, the key to health and wellbeing across generations across the globe. So as part of this, we know that midwives make a difference, and so we want you to engage you with that. So part of that process is building a rapport, building a relationship with the women that you're working with, getting to know what makes them tick, their deepest, darkest secrets, and how you can support them in optimising their health and wellbeing and that of their child and their family unit. So this is what this process is about. This is why this whole thing is here. So you get the opportunity to actually engage with these women for long term. So, across, people would say 9 months is actually longer than that, but you actually become part of their experience and they will look to you. So they might be going into a hospital, maybe have been put in standard care, might see a different midwife every time they go to the hospital. So then someone they don't know and they've got to retell their story time and time again. So you become that friend, that confidant that they can rely on. They know you and they will look to you for information and support, possibly more than they do to the midwife that's caring for them. So you become part of their experience. And so again, it's a privileged position. So I don't want you to abuse it. I want you to really embrace it. And yes, it's time consuming and yes, it takes up a lot of your life because, they're the reason why you're on call. But it's such an amazing experience and I really hope that you enjoy, being part of that experience. So that's what that whole thing is about. So obviously you've got all these requirements and I talked a little bit about the paperwork and I mentioned the portfolio. So the portfolio is basically where you store all of the information that evidences your experience and your progression across this course. So that's what you actually provide at the end of the 3 years or the 6 years or the 4 years or the 2 years to say, I've met everything that I need to meet as a midwife and we can sign you off to say you're ready for registration. So we do that final sign-off. You get a transcript that heads off to APRA or the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia to say that you're actually now ready for registration. So all this evidence is not just for, not something we just go, we're going to make you do, we're going to be really nasty and make you do. This is actually your evidence of how you progress and what you've achieved and how you meet the requirements. So all of these things will be in there. There's a new website that I've built just recently that provides all of this information. You all should have access to it now. It's called the Midwifery Professional Practice Portal. Anyone seen that already? It's lots of information, lots of templates, lots of submission points for different things. So go in and have a look. It might be overwhelming. There's also the professional portfolio information on there as well, so you can download that and have a read of it. But don't get too overwhelmed by it because I'm actually going to step you through all of that as we go through 1013. So don't stress too much. There's a lot of information to take in. But everything you need is there on that site. Uniform. Has anyone actually gone about ordering their uniform or sourcing it? How's the wait time? You haven't heard anything?
No, I was going to ring them at the end of this week.
Yeah. Anyone? Did they give you a ETA on it? 3 weeks. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So obviously, when we talk about the labs, and if you've already gone into 1013 and watched and read all my spiel in there, you probably would have seen that it's a requirement to wear your uniform to the lab session. So anytime we're working in the simulation spaces. We understand that some of you won't get access to your uniform straight away, so it's okay you did come in. So we just say, long pants, closed-in shoes, and just in a suitable T-shirt of some description. Probably not short skirts or anything, or high, short shorts or anything like that, because you'll be doing a lot of bending over and things like that. Sometimes we're on the floor. Sometimes you're getting up on a bed. So, practical stuff that protects you. So safety is always paramount in that space, and obviously, probably not straight away, but we are using sharps and things like that. So you want to protect yourself as much as possible. So in those early days, it's completely okay for you not to wear your uniform, but as soon as you get it, you will be required to wear it, at least the shirt and black pants and black shoes that are closed in, so preferably no holes. Obviously, think about what the kind of fluids and things you might be exposed to out in the clinical environment, amniotic fluid being one of them. And let me tell you, women who are giving birth often spray that across the room, so you might cop it in your face, amongst other places. So, protecting yourself is absolutely important. So, this is the current uniform. Now, we are looking to update it for a number of reasons, and one of them being that the Flinders logo has actually changed. However, if you've bought one, you can continue to wear that for as long as you're here at the university, so there's no requirement to change it. However, even when we do change it, you can opt to change it to that one. So they don't give a lot, so they also gape at the front, so just be aware of that when you're actually trying them on and selecting your size. And if it's always good to wear like a cami or something underneath, because they often do just gape forward and you can just see down the front. So, but they're quite practical and they've got those pockets at the front. So you can contact Valerie Travers for those, and we'll keep you updated as to the new uniform even when it happens. All right, I'm going to hand over to Professor Annette Briley again. Because you're going to talk a little bit about research, and then I promise you we're going to have a bit of a break, and I'm going to do a bit of a giveaway. All right? So hang in there. Okay, anyone need to get up and do a stretch? Go for it. Are you hot? Or are you comfortable? Check that.
Sorry, Chloe only put sweets on the tables that had people on, so just sharing them out of it.
Just go for it. What are we? What's the time? 10:38. Oh no, you've got a couple of minutes because we're running. Are we on time? No, we're in front. Oh no, we're not. Go.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about research, and hopefully the others will just join in when they come back. So as we've said before, everything that we do needs to be underpinned by the evidence that's out there. There's loads of evidence to suggest that clinical areas that are research active and clinicians that are research active are better and they have better patient outcomes. And it's not me that's telling you that, that's in the literature. So we owe it to our women and we owe it to our profession to have the top quality evidence. As Meg said, I've been very fortunate and I've been involved in a lot of research around the world, and because I'm so old, I've now seen it change practice. It has been estimated that it takes 10 to 15 years to get evidence into practice. COVID has changed that. If you think about how quickly we got a vaccine made, trialled it, set it out, the team that I left in London were right at the front of recruiting to the trial regarding COVID vaccination in pregnancy, I'm very proud to say. So again, hopefully moving forward, it won't take 10 to 15 years again. So here at Flinders, as Meg said, she's in a balanced role, and I'm supposedly 100% research, but you can probably guess I have quite a lot to do with the students and quite a lot to do with the teaching team, because they're quite a nice bunch, really. We've...
She only says that now because we're here.
Oh, no. I say it all the time. And you know full well, Meg, if I didn't like it, I'd go back on a plane, back where I came from. I've been very fortunate and have got some collaborations both here and in Australia and around the world. So some of the stuff that I'm involved with the UK still is developing training simulators for doctors and midwives to deliver the impacted fetal head at caesarean section, but it also is really good for practicing vaginal examinations without having to try it out on the woman, which obviously is really invasive. I'm also involved in a study, again, with doctors looking at, it's called Rotate, and it's whether when a woman gets to the second stage of labour, so she's ready to push her baby out, but the baby isn't in the best position, if by digitally moving the baby's head, we can then get a forceps or ventouse delivery, so an instrumental vaginal birth, rather than caesarean section. As Meg said, we've got huge problems with global caesarean section rates, roughly about 35% in Australia, and very similar in the UK. America's higher. Brazil is about 92% caesarean section rate. So, to have a normal vaginal birth in Brazil is quite an achievement. But we now know that women who have a caesarean section in the second stage of labour, so just before the baby's going to be born, are highly likely to have a late miscarriage or very preterm baby in a subsequent pregnancy. So it might be a good answer for that baby, but it's actually putting the subsequent baby at risk. And the reason they think that is because the doctors do a low incision into the womb, fan and steel, so the mum can still wear a bikini. Having had a caesarean section, never worn a bikini before or after it, but hey-ho. And what they think is because the physiology has happened, that actually what the doctors are doing is rather than cutting into uterine tissue, they're cutting into the cervix, so that when the woman then gets pregnant again, that cervix cannot maintain that pregnancy beyond about 22, 23 weeks. So that is really the cusp of viability. So we can see that some of the things we've done in the past are not necessarily good for women's reproductive health. And again, this follows through what Meg was saying about midwife actually being involved in the life course of women's health, but also about the important factor. I mean, a caesarean section, when it's required, is absolutely life-saving, but I think we've probably gone too far. As Meg said, WHO state that about 10% is right to save lives, and beyond that there's no improvement in maternal or neonatal morbidity or mortality. So here at Flinders, we are also involved in the Global Intersect study, which we will be recruiting at the Women and Children's Hospital and the Lar McEwen. It's run out of London by Susan Ayres, who's an amazing woman. She's a psychologist and she's leads in perinatal mental health. And it's about there's more and more evidence around the world that women who have babies experience a kind of post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of childbirth. And that's really quite upsetting for us as midwives, I think, as the key professionals looking after them. So this is a global survey. We're recruiting women in late pregnancy and just asking them to complete an online questionnaire about their birth experience and how they feel, their mental health, 6 to 12 weeks postnatally. It's happening it's 142 centres in 88 countries, including countries like Ukraine and Turkey and New Zealand, and places that have got real issues going on, as well as relatively safe spaces like Australia. Within the team, obviously Liz has... Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. So this is probably my mantra, isn't it? Yeah. So So it basically, obviously, as I've already said, we need to get the evidence, but currently our guidelines, about 18% are based on the evidence, which is really not very good, is it? So we really need to be cognizant of the evidence all the time and looking for it. So as Liz has already said, she is doing her PhD. She's just had a change of direction and is going to actually use the information that she has already gained from her podcast to speaking to people who've done a PhD and about that journey, because actually there isn't really a very clear trajectory for a career trajectory for people who've got a PhD in midwifery. But undoubtedly, and Liz will bear testament to the fact that many of us have been involved in research that has changed the care that women have received. So I was involved in a study years ago now, my first dalliance into research, where we gave women who were at risk of preterm birth prophylactic antibiotics because people thought that it was infection. It was ascending infection, caused the woman to go into labour and the baby to be born early. We found in that trial, it's called Premet, published in the Lancet, we found that the women who had the antibiotics were twice as likely to have their babies early than the women who had the placebo, which was just a sugar tablet. So the practice of giving women prophylactic antibiotics at risk of, if they're at risk of preterm birth, stopped overnight, and now women are only treated for diagnosed infection in pregnancy. So yeah, that's just one example of something that I've been involved with that has changed practice. We've also, Meg's has said she's passionate about water immersion, and we'll get it into everything I can say. And I one of my very good friends is Diane Garland, who is a real water birth guru. So I get it from both ends, really. We've also got students that are doing all sorts of really exciting things. We've got an ex-Flinders student who has just finished her TPP year and has just completed her honours, looking at the influences of social media on women's decisions about how they birth, whether they want a vaginal birth, whether they want a caesarean section, which she's done really, really well. She's got her honours, and now we're just going to tap her up to get some papers published about that. But of course that feeds into what I've just told you about women who've had a previous caesarean section and their long-term health. We've got another student, honour student, who is one of our ex-students who works in the Riverlands, and she's looking at the experience of those families that are transferred into Metro Adelaide to birth late in pregnancy. We've got another student who was a long time ago student here, who's actually working remotely out beyond Alice Springs, and I kind of know where that is, but my geography's not great. And she's looking at the experience of, in her area, everyone at 36 weeks is transferred either into Alice or up to Darwin or down here for birth, depending on their complexity. And she's looking at the experience for midwives who've looked after those women all the way through and then say goodbye to them, but also for the experience of the midwives in the hospitals who then take on women they've only just met. I can't remember. We've got so many, haven't we? I've been doing a lot of work in the prison. Because I'm very lucky, Flinders has pioneered joint appointments. So I have an appointment with Northern Adelaide Local Health Network, which basically is the Lyle McEwen. And the women who are incarcerated in the women's prison have their babies at the Lyle. They have to attend, if they attend antenatal appointments for any reason, they attend shackled and with 2 guards, and there's no guarantee they will be women. They then birth at the Larmac, and again they're shackled, they're tied to the bed while they're giving birth. And when they've had their babies, South Australia is the only state in Australia where the women are not allowed to take their babies back to the prison with them. So they go back to the prison in accordance to their clinical needs, often after 4 to 6 hours, but they have to leave their babies behind. Those babies can be cared for by a first-degree relative, but not the partner. So it's usually their mother or sister. If you think of the size of Australia, there's 1 women's prison. So it's only going to be really women whose families live fairly close to the prison who are going to be able to support taking the baby in. The women get no additional hours visiting, so they get 2 hours a day, as per all prisoners. And when you think about the long intergenerational effects of breastfeeding and bonding, and generally those first weeks of parenting, these women miss out completely. And their babies who have committed no crime are set up to fail right from the beginning of life. They get a really poor start. So we're very excited. We've got our first student, midwifery student, has gone into the prison. This is the second week of a 2-week placement there, and she's having an absolute ball. They have about 34 women who give birth during their period of incarceration every year. So it's not an insignificant number. But again, this is one of our novel ways of finding different placements. And obviously the women's health issues, the women often have very chaotic lives. So their dentistry is poor, they're not vaccinated against anything, they haven't had any cervical screening, any breast screening, anything like that. So it's a very different experience. And we're also looking at trying to get some funding to do some work around the experiences of those women. What else are we doing?
Iron study.
Oh, the iron study, yes. So I've just finished collecting data out at the LARMAC. They have a really high incidence of iron infusion in pregnancy. So we found out what women know about it, about iron intake in pregnancy, why iron's important, and because the iron infusion is seen as a quick fix, but actually there are quite a few studies that suggest that when babies are developing and they have a fast neuroplasticity phase of brain development in the second and third trimester, if they then go from having very low iron levels to very high, as you'd get with an infusion, that can be linked to ADHD and other cognitive delay and function in childhood. So again, it's looking at whether those first few weeks, the first 280 days of pregnancy, which is the first 280 days of life, the impact of that for the whole of life. And again, we're working with the LARMAC on continuity models. Meg and I are going to a meeting this week because they want to get some kind of continuity in, because they know that they're not reaching enough women, and that we know, as Meg has said, and that State of the World's Midwifery report stated, and also Mary Renfrew headed up a team in the Lancet series on midwifery, 2014 now, I can't believe it's that long ago, and basically said the single intervention that improves neonatal and maternal mortality and morbidity is a midwife. So that's how important we are. So that's really exciting, and that kind of all follows along with another project that's been run out of New South Wales, the full 9 months, which again they're doing at the LARMAC, about women not pushing to be induced too early, not because the babies that have the full 9 months and are born at the right time seem to do a lot better than those that are born early, even if they're born late early, if you know what I mean. So even if they're like 4 or 5 weeks early. So these babies here are, I used to work in the largest preterm birth clinic in the world, and these are all some of the preterm babies that I looked after, and they're all amazing children now. And this family here, they'd lost 4 babies who'd all been born between 24 and 34 weeks. Until they came to the clinic, and then they had these 2 little boys. So they regularly send us photos, but this is why we do it, to make it better. I wanted to make it better for my daughter, if and when she has children, than it was safer than when I had my children. And as Jane Sandall says, everybody needs a midwife, but some women need a doctor too.
All right, so now we're going to give away, sorry Chia, we've got a couple of things we've got to do first. On the table in front of you, there's some Post-it notes. I want you to write, so grab a couple, grab a pen, write your name on the top. You don't have any, oh my gosh.
There's always one table.
There's always one table, always one. Can the group share some back? So write your name on the top. So we're gonna give some stuff away. But you've got to do a little bit of work before you go in the drawer to get something. So I'm going to, Chloe, can I borrow you?
Me?
Yes. I need, and Tony. Oh, can you, because you guys haven't done much today. I need you guys to be the runners. All right? So in a couple of minutes, or in a couple of seconds' time, I'm going to put up a question. There's 4 different answers, and you have to get the question right in order to go in the drawer for a prize. All right? So they're all midwifery related. So if you've done a little bit of homework, you'll know the answer. Try not to cheat, because I know you've all got phones and some of you got laptops. All right, are you ready for the first question? So make sure your name's on it, and then I want you to put the letter of the answer you think is correct. Okay? You ready?
Multiple choice. It's a bit harsh.
Has everyone selected their answer? Okay. Did anyone select B? Okay, put your hands down. Did anyone select D? Did anyone select A? Keep your hands up. High, 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 high. Keep your hands up. And did anyone select C? Keep your hands up. All right, I want you to rip off those who've got their hands up. Keep your hands up, because Chloe and Tony are going to come round and collect you. You guys got it right. So a baby presenting head first can be called cephalic or vertex. So did you write your answer on? So if you've got an A or a C on your paper.
They have to write their name as well?
Yeah, their name on it. And then we're going to get, one of you are going to pull out someone who's going to win one of the, you can either win a coffee cup or one of the drink bottles, and you can select which one you have. Do you want to pull out the winner? All right, when you're collecting them all, come over and Annette will pull out the winner.
Are they all the right answers? Do you know the
Yeah,
right answers?
do you check them all? Just check that isn't the right answer on. See, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Gabrielle Kirk. Come over. Yay! Come and select one of the coffee cup or one of the drink bottles. So this is thanks to ACM. So
Should I take these out now?
grab the box there. Yeah. All right. So next question, same thing again. Gabrielle, you can't win another prize unfortunately today, so you're going to get to sit out this next few rounds. All right. Get ready. It's the next one. Everyone got their answer? I'm trusting that you're writing it down before I tell you the answer. It's a trust game. Everyone got their answer? No one's answering me. Yes, everyone got their answer?
I think that's really tricky.
That was my question.
Oh, I think that's really harsh. Oh.
Okay, did anyone have D? Put your hand up. Put your hands down.
I didn't make the answers though.
Did anyone have C? Put your hands down. Did anyone have A? Who had B? You are correct. Keep your hands up. What's that? That was Chloe's. All right, you're going to pull the winner out? And the winner is?
She won?
Yay! All right, come and select one of, you get a choice. The next person won't get a choice. The gist of either the drink bottle or the coffee cup. And then take that. There. Well done. All right. Final one for now. There'll be more afterwards. You ready? Go. Everyone got their answer?
It is. It is, yeah.
Everyone got their answer? Okay, who had A? No one. Anyone got D? Does that mean that everyone had B or C? You're all correct. All right, so we'll collect them all up. You guys get your fitness, get your steps up.
That worked out well.
Yeah. So we call colostrum liquid gold because it is so very important. So whoever wins this one gets the coffee mug.
I'm standing under the...
And the winner is... Yay! All right. So a bit later on, we've actually got a couple of textbooks and one of these pashminas to give away. So those of you who've already got a prize, you'll have to sit out the next bit. But you'll have the opportunity to win one of the textbooks or one of these cool things. So, all right, I'm now going to hand over to Chio, who is from the Work Integrated Learning Unit, and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about placements and some of the compliance requirements that you need to do in order to be prepared for placement. Okay, thanks heaps, Chio.
Hello everyone, my name is Chio.
Did you want the microphone?
As mentioned before. Can you hear me now?
It's more for the recording as well.
Here. All right. Okay, so I am from the placements team. Okay, my name is Chio.
Is it on? Is it switched on? There you go. Yeah.
Now, all right. That's much better. Okay, I am from the placements team, as I was saying, and can I just, yeah, that's all right. So my work here is to coordinate your placements at different locations. I am going to explain that later. Okay, I am also in charge of registering your birth logs on our system, and so you will have to send me your course information through a Qualtrics survey that you will be able to fill in, and also you will be working that with your topic coordinators. I am also rostering, okay, for you, your placements. As you have commenced now, and you will have to go to your placements from May on. Okay, I am going to explain you that further later. So today we are going to talk about these four specific things. So with the work integrated learning placements, okay, the professional experience placements website, which I will show you, and how to communicate with me and with the rest of the team, so that you, if in case you have any questions in regards to your placements, or in case you have any questions about the documents that you will have to submit. So I am going to explain you that. Also, all the responsibilities you will have as a student, especially regarding the compliance that you will have to meet before going to your placements venues. And also, I will explain you how the in-place system works. So here, you can see there that there are some placements that you will have to go to within the metropolitan area and in some rural locations. Okay, you will go to a variety of public and private hospitals. For example, Women's and Children's Hospital, or I am at Kiwing, or perhaps you will have to go to Mount Gambier or to Port Augusta. depending on the availability of these hospitals and also depending on how quick you are to complete all the requirements, okay? So in case you go to rural places, within South Australia, you will be able to claim some reimbursements, okay? And you will have to have in mind that these placements may not be available close to your home, and sometimes it's very difficult to find transport to get to those placements. So sometimes you will need to use your private vehicle as well, okay? And in case that happens, just be able, ensure that you have complete rest and that you can be able to drive all the way there. Also, if you don't have a private vehicle, please ask a colleague that works with you, that goes with you to your placement venue. Perhaps you can do carpooling in that case. And as I said before, in case you go to a rural area within South Australia and you take your private vehicle, you will have to own, you will have to arrange by your own your transportation, and the accommodation can be also provided by rural and remote health. Okay, there is a website regarding this, and please have a look. Also, in our website, you will find this list of locations where you perhaps will have to go, and there are some predetermined amounts, okay, that you can claim in case you go to those places. This is the reimbursement policy. Okay, if you happen to go to Northern Territory, for example, you can also apply and claim up to $750, or if you go to other states other than South Australia, you can claim up to $500, okay? And the accommodation that you can claim is $150 per week. This is only if you go to rural places or interstate, okay? If you go metropolitan, you don't need to claim these reimbursements. Okay, now this is the professional experience placement website. Okay, it looks like this here. In this website, you will find very important information. Please ensure you read it through. I have sent you an email with this link. And also, I have provided this link onto the in-place that you will have, okay? Sometimes students don't know how to use in-place, so I have also attached an in-place guide to the email I have sent you, okay? And, well, as I was mentioning the website is very important because it has important information regarding your responsibilities as students, okay? And these two buttons that you can find on the first part of the website are very important because the first one has a calendar, okay, that you have to have in mind because it has deadlines, dates, important dates that you have to be able to remind. And also, it has the pre-placement compliance checklist. This is a very important tool, okay, that I will explain you also later. Other information that you will find in that website is the clinical ID badge, okay, information related to this you can find there, and please ensure you read it through and you follow the instructions. Also, you will find information about your venues, the venues that you will encounter during your placement, and also information about how these venues are located and the orientation days as well. Okay, I recommend students to go to the orientations days even before they are placed in these locations, because then you will be able to go to any placement. Okay, so please ensure you look at that website and you look at every link of every location, okay? Because in every link you will find the orientation days for those different venues. Good? For example, this Burnside Hospital, they have 2 different orientations that you will have to be able to see, okay? It can be online or on-site, but please ensure you do that. Now, this is the checklist I was talking about before. This checklist contains a list of all the documents that you need to be able to obtain by deadline and submit to us. How do you submit that? You upload all those documents onto the InPlace website. It's a system, as I said before. I will show you more about it later. So in this checklist, as I was saying, you have the list of requirements, and I have also sent you a requirements guide, which is a guide with instructions on how to obtain these documents, okay? It's very important that you read everything that I have sent you through, okay? So now, the communication with me will be mainly through email, okay? There is an email here from the whole team. It's the College of Nursing and Health Sciences placements team. Good, you can send it there. If you can send me any email there, please provide me with your student ID first, then the topic code, and then your inquiry, okay, your subject. Also, you can visit me at the college office, okay, that's all right. Or you can also respond to my email, the email I sent you, okay, which is Chio Calderon Silva @flinders.edu.au. So now the requirements. So let's focus now on the documents that you will have to upload onto InPlace. Good? This is, as I said before, this is your responsibility. So please try to do that as soon as possible because some of them take a long time. Good? This is how the guide looks. The requirements guide I sent you, and as I said before, it has instructions on how to get the documents that are required to be compliant for placement. So first, I want to show you, this is how InPlace looks like for you, okay? So once you get to enter your account, your InPlace account, you will find these questions first. So please just answer to the questions. What you can do is click on those plus, and then you will be able to answer. Those are checkbox responses and drop-down style responses as well. So it's pretty easy, the first part. Then the second part of that online form, it's DHS clearances. Okay, so here, what you have to do is to obtain first the DHS clearances that we need from you. The mandatory ones are the DHS Age Care Sector and the Working with Children check. Those two are mandatory for all the students that are in this college, okay? So now, once you obtain those two clearances, you will be able to upload them to the system, to the InPlace system. Okay, how do you upload them? You just click on the plus and attach the document. It's very easy, but you need to know how to do it. So, these clearances take about 4 weeks. This is why I recommend you to do it as soon as possible. Because if you are going to commence to go to your placements in May, you need to be compliant by April, okay? So please try to do it today or as soon as possible, good? In the guide that I have sent you, there are more instructions on how to obtain these clearances. So please have a look at those slides because there are many slides, 5 or 6 slides with all the instructions. And if you have any questions, you can contact me, okay? The next document that you will need is the police check. So the police check can be tricky because it needs a specific wording. What is the wording? That it has to say unsupervised contact with vulnerable groups. Okay, that's very important. So please, when you apply for this check, try to put that clearly in the purpose for the check. Okay, there are 3 providers that we suggest. They are on the website and also in the requirements guide I have sent you. So please ensure you go to one of those providers, 3 providers, so that you can get this specific wording on your police check.
Just on that slide, it's got aged care as the occupational purpose. What would you prefer for the midwifery?
For the midwifery, healthcare. Yes, healthcare. So now there is another document which is called the SA Tuberculosis Services Screening. So what you need to do is to click on the link. That link is on the website and also in the guide. Good. So you click on that link and you answer to a questionnaire. Once you answer that, to that questionnaire, you will receive an email. The email will look similar like this one. What you need to do is to take a screenshot of it and then you will upload it onto the system. This email only happens if you are cleared, of course. If you are not, you will be required to follow other steps. So try to follow those steps. In that link, you will find a complete guide on how to do this whole process. Good? So upload this onto InPlace and all the other documents in case you have to do other steps to obtain this. The other document that is important for you is the immunization compliance certificate. This can also take several weeks, so please start doing this now. You can download this form from the website, okay? And also that link is provided in the guide. So please go to your immunization provider with this form so that they can fill it in, okay? And once it's completed, or perhaps it's commenced because you still need to receive some vaccinations, please upload it onto your InPlace, okay? So that we can have a record of this. This is the acceptable evidence of the immunity, okay, that you will need to meet in order to have the previous form completed, okay? So check this. This is on the second page of that form. So please read it through and to understand what we need from you, okay? Another vaccination that is very important is the flu vaccination, okay? Influenza vaccination. So there is this form that you can also download from the website. Good. And usually they release these vaccinations between March and April. So in case you haven't received a 2022 yet, you can wait until until March or April, so you can receive the 2023 vaccination. And once you receive it, please upload the evidence onto your InPlace. You can also bring this form to the pharmacy or to the GP or to Flinders Medical Center if you receive the vaccination there, and so that they can complete it, and you can also upload this document there. So the next one is this evidence of 3 doses of COVID-19 vaccination. Okay, if you have 2, please don't upload it because your document will be rejected. So receive your 3rd vaccination and then upload the evidence of that. Okay? Then this is another document, the SA Health Depot. This is like an agreement that you have to read through and you have to sign with a witness. When you sign it with your witness, please upload this page onto the in-place, okay? I think it's the third page of that document that you can also download from our website.
So it's just uploading that page, the signature?
Yes, yes. I think it's better also for you. So the CPR certificate is an annual requirement, so you will have to do it every year. Good. This CPR certificate needs to have this training code. It has to be an appropriate one. Okay. Also, we can receive the basic life support practical and the advanced life support. Okay, that's all right. But please ensure once you take a screenshot of that document, ensure that your name and the date are legible so that we can approve this document, okay? Another document is the manual handling certificate. You will see also different providers where you can get this certificate from. So please ensure you get it from one of those because those are the ones required by compliance. Then the hand hygiene certificate. This is another annual requirement as well as the previous two. And this is an online module that you will have to complete. It takes between 1 and 2 hours. So ensure you do it as soon as possible as well. And you can upload then the certificate onto your in-place. Please ensure that you do the right module because many students do our wrong module. The right module must say, hand hygiene student health practitioners online learning module. Okay? This is the one you need to do. So please ensure you do that. On the requirements guide, I have also added all the instructions on how to go to the right module. Okay? So please just follow those instructions and you will be fine. Then there is also the infection control certificate. This certificate can be obtained through the same page, through the same web page like the one before, okay? And ensure you also do the right module. The right module has to say principles of infection prevention and control. Good? This is another annual requirement, is the blood safe clinical transfusion practice. It's also an online module, so please read the instructions on how to obtain the certificate and just upload the certificate once you obtain it. And the last, well, this is not the last document, but this is also very important, the SA Health Electronic Medical Records, also known as the EMR training. You can obtain it from your FLOW website. Okay, the pass grade is 80 or above. So once you obtain that grade, please take a screenshot with your name on it, the date and your grade, and that will be sufficient evidence for us. Okay? And then the face mask fit testing. This is a requirement that it's also very important for all the midwifery students. So please ensure you will be contacted by email by the fit testing team. Okay, they will contact you through your email, and once you go to your appointment, they will upload to in-place all the information. Okay, so if that doesn't happen, please contact me. But they usually do that at the moment. Okay.
And that's here on campus on the second floor, down the other end of this corridor.
Perfect. So now please, as I have mentioned before, allow sufficient time to do all those documents that you need to do in order to meet our requirements. Okay. Please keep up to date. Keep looking into your email and also into your in-place account, okay? Otherwise, you won't get the information that we are sending you. which is very important for you to pass your course. Also, please keep all the originals of the documents that you will obtain in a portfolio, because every time when you go to your placements, you will have to bring that portfolio with you so that they can check that you are compliant. This is also very important, the deadlines. So there are different deadlines for students. For example, the deadlines for students of first year are 13th of April. Okay, this is the deadline to submit all your documents, okay, in semester 1, of course, and you have to ensure that your documents are valid until the 18th of June, okay? So if you are not first year student, if you are RN entry, your deadline will be 27th of March, okay? So our suggestions is to request the DHS screenings via the DHS website as soon as possible, because it takes up to 4 weeks. Also, please complete and lodge the police check application as soon as possible. If you can do it today, please do it today. Complete the TB questionnaire also soon, so that it doesn't take too long for you to obtain it. And the medical appointment, perhaps you can get an appointment for this week or next week. That would be great. Try to do that. Also book courses of CPR and manual handling so that you can obtain those certificates and you can be able to upload them very, very soon. The student system, as I said before, is in place. So in that email I have sent you, there is also an in-place guide with instructions on how to use in place, okay? If you have any questions, please just contact me. But it looks very simple. So you only need to follow the guide and you will be able to use it. Good? And this system, it's the only one where you can upload your documents for us to verify so that you can be compliant, okay? Don't send me your documents to my email. Just upload them onto that system. Good? So this is an important information that you also need to know. Please note, if you are thinking about doing a professional experience placement topic next semester, ensure that you have enrolled now. In future years, ensure that you enroll as early as possible, as the rostering process starts in October. Okay? So please remember that. If you are considering deferring for a semester, please discuss this with Megan Cooper, okay, as soon as you can. And well, this is the email where you can send me any question. Also, there is the website. The website has been provided as well, okay? And in case you have any questions now, please, I am happy to hear them, all right? I will try my best to answer them.
And you thought we were joking about the paperwork.
We're going to test you on it now.
When can we be expected to be emailed about the mask fitting? Is that like any time between now and like when classes start?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Probably next week.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the question, if the audience didn't hear recorded, was when would the email come out about mask fitting?
Do we have to get mask fittings done every year, or is it just a one-time thing?
It's only one time. Mm-hmm.
And with the sunrise exam, 80%. It's the EMR. Yeah. Sorry.
With the EMR, and you've got to get 80%. Don't worry, because you're not limited to the number of attempts. I did my training last week. It took me all day, and there were a couple of modules I had to do 3 and 4 times to get 80%. But just keep going. Don't think, oh crikey, you know, I've loused it up at the first go. You can just keep going, and it is quite confusing. It's really good training, and you do need to do it because all the icons aren't necessarily intuitive. So it just means that you know where to get information about patients, but where to enter information about patients as well. But don't get stressed about needing to pass an exam.
Any questions there?
So do we need to get the NDIS?
The NDIS is not mandatory, but I recommend you to, if you apply for the DHS clearances for the first time, I recommend you to also apply for the NDIS because it's like a package. So you pay for all of them only once. Okay, just in case perhaps you can need it in the future. That's all right.
So I already work at Midwifery. Am I able to use a lot of my compliance stuff for work here? Can I send that through? Or?
If they meet our requirements, of course you can. Yes.
And as long as they meet that time frame
as well.
So up to the 18th of June.
Yes.
So they cover that duration. Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay, if you have any other questions and you don't want to say it now, or perhaps you remember anything later, please send me an email, okay?
Just quickly, when will you know when your documents are being verified, like checked over?
So I will check them weekly, okay? So that you can have a look at your in-place and it will say verified and it will have like a green button. Okay, if it has a green button, it's okay. If it's been rejected and has a red button, then you will have to just follow the instructions that I am going to provide you.
Okay, cool.
Is that all? Yes? All right.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Tia.
No worries. Thank you, guys. I hope it was clear.
Yes.
I'm going to take it to the office.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you too. All right.
See you later.
I want to see if I can operate.
All right, I'm going to hand over to Liz again. So Liz is going to talk about where midwifery can take you. Does anyone need a stretch? Do you want to get up and have a chat with somebody you haven't had a chat with yet? Where you all chatted out? Stretching? Get up and go for a walk. Go on. Yeah, across corridor.
How are we going for time? Do you want me to shorten it?
So we've got an hour. So I gave you 15 minutes, so maybe just make it 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it does do it again.
So remember to make sure everyone's not signed in. So make sure you've written your name on the board if you haven't already.
Hi, how you going?
No, we're going to get for next week or by the next 2 days. Because those plastic card name boards.
So if you just email to us.
Yeah, well, because okay, because if you could to give them to on Monday, the first class, and then they can be wearing them for the whole week. Because I'm thinking I might, the next 2 days, just put nothing on, I might just work from home. Finish up my marketing very pretty soon. I kind of looked at it and I kind of went, I don't need them at the moment, so it's not on my priority list anymore. I can do it in what format do you want it? Do you want it in this? Do you want it in SPSS? Do you want it in CSV? Do you want it in PowerPoint? Do you want a combination? I'll give you a combination. Are you going to do data analysis in SPSS?
I might do.
Okay, I'll give you both versions. I'll give you a spreadsheet, Excel.
When I come to data,
Right.
which is unusual, but that's the statistician I work with likes it, so I'm not a bit about SPSS.
I'm not boring you.
I'll ask my friends.
I just had a crappy night and a really early morning. I'm trying to get back into the gym, so I went to the gym at 5:30.
No, good. Can you grab me a cherry? No, a Turkish light.
Went out for dinner.
We'll take whatever the left is backwards.
And then it came home, we woke up at like 10:30, and then like did it back to sleep at like 12:30. And then
Missing out.
just Jordan.
Oh, nice.
He's done it better. Just put it lightly.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was awake crying when I got home, and then Jordan just kind of like let him. He's like, "Oh, you're home now." And I like literally just walked through the door. And I was like, "If I don't put my stuff down, like get changed, like when he starts to feed, he's gonna feed for the next like hour." 2 minutes. Yeah, that's when I went out for dinner straight from work as well, so I had him like for my lunch.
Chances I've worked it. I know, but I didn't. Okay, so we've only got an hour to go. So this is a wee little story that everyone has their own journey, and everyone comes into midwifery from a variety of different pathways, and I think that's something that I have learnt and has been quite fun to learn even more with my podcast. So I've talked to, out of the 48 episodes, 42 of them, 43 of them have actually been me chatting with other people. So some have been housekeeping and introductions, and each year I do a wrap-up. So they're not all with... And it's been fabulously listening to how people have got into midwifery, because not everyone's pathway is smooth and they've kind of woken up and knew that that was what they want to do. It was opportunities, pathways, and taking a chance and taking a leap. So this is a little bit of my journey to kind of come through. So when we're kind of looking at midwifery as a whole, we know that midwives' continuity of care saves more than 20% on costs. It improves in relationships, it improves in outcomes, and it improves in that longevity that lasts for that intergenerational effect that Megan was talking about before. We know that we work across the spectrum and our scope of practice is huge. And midwives, if we had 900,000 more midwives by the year 2030, midwives globally would save 4.3 million lives. So when you put us in the big picture, Australia is very, very well resourced with midwives. But when you put it from a more global perspective, then you sit there and it really makes you amazed at what we can do by being midwives in ourselves. So I firmly believe that there are two most privileged times that you can be in someone's life. And I've had the privilege of being both. And that is when someone is born. And as Meg said, the hands-on, the very first being to have that hands-on in the outside world. And also to be there at the end. To be the last person. To be there when they take their last breath. I've done adult palliative care and I've also looked after fetal death as well. Some of you may be experiencing that on the same day. Some of you may not. It depends on where you are when you're working. But it is the most emotional and privileged times that you can be there. The time that it stops being a privilege to be at someone's birth and at someone's death is a time you need to step away, because then you've lost your compassion. This is my point of view. So as I said, I'm an old nurse and a new midwife. I decided instead of having a midlife crisis to become a midwife, as well working here at the same time, which was completely nuts. It is undoubtedly, and including the PhD that I've just changed topic to, which you should never ever do, it was the hardest course that I've ever done in my life. because of trying to fit it in. Now, as I was going through that, I didn't have kids to worry about. The only living creatures I had to worry about were my chooks. And thankfully they were fairly self-sufficient because I had struggled to look after myself. When you're looking at shift work, continuities, being on call, doing assignments and then trying to keep up a job. And at that time I was working casual nursing lecturer and also a casual nursing clinical facilitator as well. I gave up clinical work because there wasn't enough of me to actually go around anymore. And I did it for a little while, kind of put my job description as belly button maker because that's what I did. I felt like I helped make belly buttons and I can't control if they're innies or outies. It just kind of like, it was the fun part. One of the opportunities, and obviously this is pre-COVID, we're hoping now that the world is settling a little bit, we may have these opportunities in the future. I really wanted to step out of my comfort zone. I wanted to explore what the global midwifery was because I knew that we were really well resourced here in Australia. So I went with a company and I spent some time, in fact my very last clinical placement, in the Philippines. And I went to a charter hospital that was not allowed to refuse people. The day that I walked into the postnatal visit on day one, on the postnatal ward, they had rows of 13 beds, so 4 rows of 13 beds, 26 of them were postnatal. In those 26 beds, there were 95 women and 95 babies. In one bed alone, there were 5 babies on the bed and 5 women sitting around in the chairs. There were people sleeping, relatives sleeping on the floors. There were quite often 2 to a crib. The first day that I was there in delivery suite, which is what I called it, delivery ward, they had 2 birthing chairs. And in that 24-hour period, they had 23 babies. And quite often in the cots that we use 1 per baby, they had 2, and in one stage they had 3 babies. And we had women walking in with head on view that had never seen any antenatal attention because they were either underage, they were not married, or for whatever other reason. And then we'd have a head on view, would be like, oh, okay, yep, just step up there. And the conditions were very, very different, but it was amazing to learn. And because of the people that I went with, we also went up to one of the islands in Antique, which was about a 5-hour bus trip. And then we went across on a 20-minute punt, and that's the island that's on the bottom, and spoke to the women there. There's a couple of women there who were pregnant and postnatal, and they had to leave their home to go across to the mainland 4 weeks before they were due to give birth. And the postnatal, the midwife, if the waters weren't too rough, she would come across on the punt and visit the postnatal, do the postnatal visits and then go back. But if they were too much complicated, they couldn't stay in that hospital, they had to go there. So once again, rural remote issues are similar to the world around because of accessibility to care. So the advantage of going opened my eye. I had a huge reverse culture shock when I came home. Absolutely huge culture shock. That picture down on the bottom right-hand side is the private birthing room. It never got used for the time that I was there. It cost about 3,000 lira or something to use, which for us is absolutely minuscule, but the people who could afford that would actually go to the private hospital. And it was in that size room, in the next door, we had it divided into 2. There were 3 barouches on this side, and there were 2 birthing chairs on the other side in the equivalents, and that's what everyone else went through. One of the other things I got to do, and it's kind of, I had a Facebook reminder this week, was there's conferences that you can go to. And I'm a conference nerd, shall we say politely. I love conferences, I love learning, I love the networking, I love getting inspired by what other people do and thinking, oh, how can we do that here? And your brain hurts at the end of conferences. But we went on a cruise and it was called Midwives at Sea. And this is a company now, they do education at sea. So there's a whole pile. It's a bit of a rort. With some people, they just rocked up, worked out there was no attendance and then pissed off for the rest of the 2 weeks. And then came back for the last day and got the certificate of attendance. And then signed off their CPDs thinking, well, good luck trying that, because if you've got to sit here and then justify what you learnt on the cruise and how you're doing, modifying your practice because of that, which is what happens when you get audited, you're going to be the ones in trouble. But it was brilliant. I was on there with 70-odd midwives at the time. It was the second one that had happened. At that stage, I was the only student that was there, and it was brilliant listening to people. And in fact, one of the best speakers was the very last speaker, and it was Robin Thompson, who's now an associate professor, Thompson, and she had just finished her PhD and she had turned 70. And her PhD was on her career in breastfeeding. And what she's done now is set up her own breastfeeding academy that runs out and supported from Charles Darwin University, and supporting and educating and kind of looking at that. So the people that you meet are the fabulous kind of connections. Because I go to conferences, there's a conference that's in Prato in Italy, and it's about clinical skills. So I'm also an academic nerd as well. But in Bologna, which is a little bit north, there's a University of Bologna, which is the oldest university in Europe, been going for thousands of years. They have this fantastic Museo di Palazzo Pioghi anatomy. These are terracotta models made in 1750s. And what they do is they've got a whole pile. So that top left one is breech birth. 1750s. This is the Renaissance period. There were no CAT scans. There were no X-rays. The only way they could see what was happening internally was through kind of like dissections. But their anatomy skills were amazing. The phone's ringing. We'll just ignore it. But what was interesting is when you look at some of the things there, that the skills that we have learned, and we go back to the art of teaching and midwifery. So the bottom left one was a pelvis made of leather with padding, straw padding, a glass uterus the size of a 9-month uterus, which the lid could get taken off of. What they were doing in 1750s, training new doctors and midwives, and they were using that and putting a doll in, and then they would do the examinations underneath to work out what position the doll was actually in. And then they would kind of blindfold, change the position and do the assessment. 2 weeks before I went to the first conference, when I first saw this, I was doing exactly the same thing with first-year students in the labs with slightly more advanced mannequins and models. But you know what? They got blindfolded, the positions got changed, and they had to do their assessment and work out what position is in. So the art of what we do is actually old, and it goes much older than that. And that's the fun part to kind of go to. But we've had experiences here that we've brought in with other opportunities, like the paramedics. We've had the military come in, so the medical corps came in, did some training days, and we set it up so we had a car bomb explosion victim in one side, and we had a road traffic accident and a woman giving birth who never spoke English on the other side. So once again, as midwifery, there are different ways that you can use your skills and you can actually bring through. A couple of years ago, and in fact they've just finished the conference this year, I went over to the Maldives, gorgeous country, fabulous water, and we did some education there with the nurses and midwives there. And they were fun because we were doing simulation over there. I had no idea what they were saying. They were talking in their natural dialect. I could understand, though, what they were doing by what they were kind of physically doing as opposed to what they were verbally doing. And so that you can kind of go to different places and see different resources. And you can change practice. So this is Zoe. She was a midwifery student here. She did a presentation on birthing in ICU. She found that they never recorded the births that happened in ICU, though there was at least a couple of years. She asked the pharmacy, and in fact, the morning of this presentation, this is a national conference presentation, she got an email to say that the pharmacists have now put emergency obstetric drugs in the fridge in ICU because they were never available before. So simple things can actually change practice, and you don't have to be kind of in that for 30 years. You can change practice within a week if you ask the right questions, and that's the kind of the really cool thing to go before. So basically, it's a passport to the world.
Sorry, I've just got to skim through those slides. It's back to me again, I'm sorry. I swear that's one reason why my mum called me Megan, because it sounds like me again. Okay, I'm just going to quickly run through getting your essentials sorted. So obviously now if you haven't been a uni student before, there's a lot of information that you've taken in today. And so, knowing where to go and who to ask the right questions of is important. So obviously orientation is on this week, so there's lots of things happening. So on the website, which is the link up there, there's actually a planner, so you can plan out what you want to do. There's tours, there's information sessions, there's a whole heap of stuff. So just head to there and you can plan it out, your individual thing, if that's what you choose to do. If you haven't already enrolled, please enrol. That gives us an idea of how many students we have in each cohort. It also helps us plan classes. So at the moment we're looking at cancelling a class because we don't seem to have the numbers we were expecting. So if you haven't enrolled, please do that as a matter of urgency. We actually start next week, so really important that you are enrolled. And then obviously if you're joining a clinical topic, all those compliance checks are really important, as Gio was talking about. If you need any help with enrolment, some links there. So there's the website, you can search enrolment on the website, or you can contact that number and they will help you. You can also contact us, Flinders, or the CNHS office. So these are the contacts here. So if you want to jot them down, just in case you need to. So you can always contact us and we can direct you in the right direction if you need to as well. Has everyone got that down? I don't want to skim through it too quickly. If you need to get some advice about enrolments and study plans and stuff like that, you generally would come through me as the course coordinator, but occasionally you might want to talk about other options. And so you can call either college office or you can talk to an enrolment officer or advisor. You will need a student ID card. It gives you the opportunity to print, to access spaces. What else does it do? Lots of the library. When you go to an exam, you need to provide evidence of who you are. So if you haven't got that, you can order one through Okta. Has everyone got access to Okta yet? If you haven't, hopefully the information will direct you on how to access that. So you can order one through there, and then you go up and you've got to take between the hours of 9 and 5, except for Wednesday, which is 9:30 to 5, so that's today, at Flinders Connect near the library up on the main campus. You just need to take another form of ID so you can get it printed. Textbooks. I will be sending out some information about textbooks, but I guess from our perspective, these are probably the two most common textbooks that we use. So this one's the Skills for Midwifery Practice, which is the Australian edition. So this is the new one, it's the second edition, and we will use that regularly in the clinical topics. And then this one called Midwifery Preparation for Practice, which is quite a large book, hence why I nearly dropped it. It's actually now been split into two. This is the brand new version, but even the old copies of these are absolutely fine. You can pick them up secondhand. So these are going for about $150 for those two, and this one's around about $100, I think. Don't quote me on that, but shop around because you can often get them on sale if you need to. But we're going to give these ones away today, so some lucky people will get one of these. There's also other textbooks, but the majority of the time we try to limit the amount of textbooks, obviously, because we know that they're expensive. These things will stay with you for life. So I've got my original version of the Pearman text, and I've got every edition now, and I keep them and I go back to them because they're still really useful now. Some of the books are actually available as ebooks through the library for their limited subscription, but if you are having some issues getting one, you can actually access it through the library. For the most part, a lot of the resources that I use are clinically based, so the perinatal practice guidelines or other guidelines from around Australia or internationally, and other resources that we can get hold of. So most of the time you won't need access to textbooks. They're probably the ones that we would use most often. Is there any others? It's probably the neonates textbook. But that's not until third year anyway, so yeah. So they're the key or the core texts that you'll need. I think Voltred has got most of it online now. Car parking. Did anyone drive today? Most of you? So I'm fairly certain that it's free this week. I couldn't find it written anywhere. Last year it was all over the place. This year it wasn't. But generally during O week it's free for you to park. But then from from O week onwards, you need to actually pay for your parking. So just be aware, otherwise you get a rude shock and you get a bit of a ticket on your window. There's also a bus that goes from here up to the main campus and also to the Tonsley campus. So if you don't feel like doing a bit of a walk, it's actually a really nice walk and we'll often do it to go for lunch. But if you don't feel like walking, you can actually catch the bus, and that's out the front of near Health to Go, which is actually just at the end of this building. So there's a little bus stop there that you can jump on the bus down there. There's also a range of scholarships that the university offer. So if you're looking for those, you can either search just scholarships on the website, or you can go through FUSA, which is the Flinders Uni Student Association. So there's a number of scholarships specific for midwifery students or for nursing and midwifery students, and then just more general ones. So there's one specific for placement opportunities that can help fund your placement in other areas, and particularly those rural ones that Chia was talking about. Wi-Fi, if you haven't already worked, has everyone got a fan? Everyone got their fan? If you haven't, you'll get one shortly. So to access the Wi-Fi here, you'll need your fan and then your password, and it's EduRoam. So it'll come up in your phones and on your laptops and things like that. So you can just log in and use the university's Wi-Fi instead of your data. If you have any issues, you can go contact IT just to get them to give you a hand. There's also two-factor authentication now for most things, email and accessing all of your online stuff, and generally need to have a phone in order to do that to verify that it's you. If you have any issues with that, IT would be the right people to talk to, because they can reset it for you if need be. So we've had a couple of students who have lost their phones or broken their phones and then haven't been able to get into anything because of that. So if that's you, contact us. Obviously not via your phone, because you won't be able to use it if it's broken or lost. But, you know, come and see us or whatever. So just so we know that if you have fallen off, it's not because you've just run away to some far, far away land because you can't deal with midwifery anymore. It's because you've actually, your phone's broken and you can't actually get your two-factor authentication sorted. Orientation, so finding your way around, there's actually a video, if you go into the, has everybody been able to access Flow and your topics so far? So if you go into the Flow page where all the topics are listed, you can actually search in Finding Your Way at Flinders. There's a 2023 version and you can actually watch that and it'll explain where everything is so you know your way around. But it does take a little while if you've never been on campus before to actually find your feet and find out where you go. Basically it's in a big square or rectangle here on Sturt campus, so you generally can find your way in each of the buildings, south, north, east, west, so kind of makes sense. Obviously you've got us as a support if you need us, and Liz in the SEC role, but there's also other student support services at the university that we encourage you to use if you need them. You can find them just by searching the website, student support, or via the student link on the website, but that's the actual web page address. There's things like counselling services, what else is there? GP, you've got Health to Go, you've got academic writing support networks, all of that kind of stuff. So there's so many resources. I think people get almost overwhelmed and then don't use them, but there's just so many great resources there that are at your disposal, so we would encourage you to use them.
Including financial advice if you're finding it hard when you're on placement, paying mortgages and stuff, they can actually help talk to you and possibly even negotiate with your lender to change your rates for while you're actually on placement if you're going rural especially.
Yeah, mentoring programs. So there's university provided ones, so they're as those that are written up there. But this year we're also looking at implementing our own in-house mentoring program, and we've been working with the second and third years to make that happen. So watch this space. If you've gone onto the Midwifery Professional Practice portal already, you might have seen there's a mentoring link up there. It's obviously not populated yet because we're still in the process of getting that sorted. But we really want to start bringing all three cohorts together because often you're very siloed. But they have a wealth of knowledge now, especially the third years. They've been around for a couple of years now. They've done all this and they've had that anxiety and that stress. They probably still have some if they were honest, and they often share that with us. And they can actually support you in knowing how to navigate all the things that you need to do, because I know there's been a huge amount of information. Is anybody feeling worse than what they did this morning? having been here? Or is it better now that you kind of get some clarification around some of the things? There's probably a mix of that across the room. So it'll all become clearer. We won't just throw you in the... I mean, we will throw you in the deep end, but you'll have the support. So, you know, we won't just let you navigate it by yourself. We'll be here to support you all the way. I just want to really emphasise this, being safe online. And now that you've walked into the profession of midwifery, it's even more pertinent that you really be conscious of what you do online, because everybody is watching. It's like Big Brother. We have had a number of situations where students have posted things on social media, you know, not really with any malice or intent. It's just something that they've done, and it's got them in a world of hurt. So as Liz starts to talk about the professional responsibilities in 1011 and 1012, one of those is about being, you know, maintaining privacy and confidentiality around the people that you're caring for and also the interactions that you have. Even saying things like, I was at a birth today at such and such hospital. Adelaide's a really small place and it doesn't take people to work out, put two and two together and work out who it was. So even the smallest amount of information about, you know, what you did or who you engaged with can actually be a breach of privacy or confidentiality. So our kind of suggestion to you is to not post anything about midwifery at all on any social media platform. And we always say to everyone, we did a presentation the other day for the second and third years, and we said the same thing again. What goes on social media stays on social media. It's there for life. And a lot of employers now are searching social media platforms and handles to look at what your interactions are like in your personal life and also what the kinds of things that you post. So just be really conscious of what you do. So our suggestion and recommendation is you do not post anything about midwifery. You know, be happy about you got into midwifery, that's fine, but anything beyond that is, you know, is probably a no-go zone. So just think 3-4 times before you actually post something, because it can get you in a lot of trouble. One example, we had a student who posted a video on Instagram just recently, and it actually ended up in the Sun newspaper in the UK. You can't get rid of it. Just one example. It'll be there for life, and they will keep recycling it as many times as they want. So I also want to just touch on that, you know, we want to make campus as safe as possible. So any threatening behaviour, you know, any abuse, whether that be verbal, physical or sexual in nature, needs to be reported, and there's obviously support services on the campus for you to actually access should that, God forbid that happens. But if it does, you need to alert somebody to it, because obviously if it's happening, we need to nip it in the bud really quickly. If you need to come and speak to one of us in a confidential way, please let us know. Obviously, phone or email is the best way to get a hold of us if you need to come and speak to us. Obviously, I said email is not always great, so giving us a phone call and just saying you need to come and talk to us, you know, confidentially is absolutely what we would encourage you to do. But there's other services around the place that you can access if need be. So I said plan your orientation. So really, that is all from the information side of things. Now, does anyone have any questions about any of that? I know everyone's getting really agitated and ready to go, probably hungry and need coffee and wake up. I generally we would have someone to come and speak from the ACM, because they like to come and explain to you what ACM is about. But unlucky or lucky for you, I am actually the spokesperson because I'm the SA branch chair and most of my colleagues are members. So I said that I would actually speak to you all today about ACM and how amazing it is. And we've got a little bit of a competition going on. So if we can get everyone signed up, because it's free, you don't have to pay anything. If we can get everyone signed up today and we can get the most sign-ups on today, out of all the universities, that we will get a prize. So this is just a bit of a challenge for me, but I really encourage you to sign up. ACM is a community that, you know, I would be lost without. So we've actually got our branch chairs meetings tonight. Branch meeting tonight, but I was always a member. I was a member when I was a student, but didn't really engage in the community until probably about 6 years ago. to the extent that I do now. And it's opened up so many doors and opportunities for me, to a point that I actually ended up working as the National Midwifery Advisor for the Australian College of Midwives in 2020 when the COVID outbreak hit. So I was working with government and, really important people. I meet with the Chief Nurse Midwife on a regular basis. I speak with the Health Minister on a regular basis, advocating for our profession and all things to do with midwifery, including the care of women and babies and enhancing the services we provide. But I've made lifelong friends through it. And as you'll soon learn, the peers that you're sitting next to right now will become lifelong friends. They will become the people that you turn to when you need someone to support you, a shoulder to cry on. And so ACM provides that. But also on top of that, there's a whole range of other things that they provide now. And after a lot of advocacy, a lot of work, this started, in 2019, when I first started in the National Midwifery Advisor role, we were talking about how important it was to engage students because you're the future. And at that point, we argued that we should make it free for students, and everyone just laughed it off. And I'm pleased to say now, for the next 2 years, you don't have to pay a thing. So being a part of that community, engaging in some of the things that we offer is such an awesome thing, and you get the benefit of it and not having to pay a cent, and you can keep that for your other things like textbooks and stuff. So they've shared a video, so I'm going to play that today, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in front of you, so you can sign up, but there's also a benefit of signing up just beyond the things that are there. So I'm just going to play this.
Hi everyone, and congratulations on choosing a career in such a rewarding profession. You will have the privilege of being part of one of the most significant times in people's lives, and that's pretty special. The Australian College of Midwives, or ACM, is the peak professional body for midwives in Australia. And for students, membership is now free. Scan the QR code now and start the join process while I tell you a bit about the benefits. As a member, you will have access to all of our educational opportunities to supplement what you're learning at university and give you new perspectives. There's 2 new webinars a month you can watch live on Thursdays or on demand in the webinar library, as well as a series of interactive, student-focused webinars. We cover what's topical, with experts in the field and top midwives in the country and around the world. As a member, you'll also have access to a growing number of 1-hour e-learning courses on things like VBAC, water immersion in labour and birth, and prenatal screening and Down syndrome. You'll receive discounted rates on conferences and events. We'll keep you up to date and informed with the latest news and professional opportunities, and you'll be able to network and meet unofficial mentors. You'll receive access to some wonderful publications and receive regular collated information from us to keep you up to date on what's happening in the profession. And we're really committed to advocating on your behalf. By being a member, you strengthen the collective voice, and that makes us more powerful advocates. There are face-to-face events in every state and territory of Australia in 2023. We also run several virtual events every year, which are a wonderful introduction to the CPD you'll need to do every year once you're registered. It's our goal to stay at the cutting edge, to bring you the latest innovations and evidence, and keep your practice and knowledge up to date as your career progresses. The biggest event in our calendar is our annual national conference. Last year this was held in Cairns, and over 500 midwives got together to learn, connect, and be inspired by the 100 different presentations. The annual ACM Midwifery Awards are awarded at the conference gala dinner too. One of these awards is for Student of the Year. It's wonderful to have your hard work and dedication to midwifery recognised in front of your peers. These are some of the students who came to last year's conference. They had a wonderful time letting their hair down with some of their midwifery idols at the conference dinner. Some of these students spent their time at the conference volunteering and helping run some of the sessions. They were an amazing support and in return received their 3-day conference ticket for free instead of the usual $550. They also expanded their professional networks and made a real place for themselves in the ACM family. And this looks wonderful on their resumes. Keep an eye out for this opportunity when we call for volunteers later in the year. And another benefit of being an ACM student member is that you're eligible to win one of 8 student scholarships to attend the national conference in Adelaide in September. Scholarships include a 3-day national conference ticket as well as $600 towards travel and accommodation expenses. But here's what some other midwives have to say about why you should join ACM.
I think it's important to be a member of the Australian College of Midwives because they have courses available online and in person that help you keep up to date with antenatal care, with postnatal care topics, with breastfeeding, with perinatal mental health.
A great organisation that's promoting education and furthering of clinical skills, which is something that as a midwife you need to do every year and constantly.
I think one of the best things about being a member is getting the subscription to the Australian Midwifery News. This is a magazine that's written by midwives for midwives.
We have a role that is so important to women and to families. In order to sort of keep that passion and drive alive for what you do, you need to know that the profession is growing and changing, and this organisation is the one that's doing that.
Numbers make things strong. The college is a strong professional body, but it can only get stronger if more and more midwives join. It helps you engage with your profession, so if you're proud of being a midwife, which I think most midwives are, then the ACM should be a no-brainer.
Okay,
so join now. Here's the QR code again.
Vic, she does that to me all the time.
See you soon.
So the QR code is there, but there's also one on the little sheets in front of you. You're not obligated to do it, but I think when you get something for nothing, you utilise it. So really encourage you to do that. The other reason why is obviously because you can go in the draw to actually win that prize, which is sponsored by HESTA to come to the conference in September. So I'm on the organising committee. It's going to be an absolute awesome conference. We have got some amazing speakers. Annette is one of them, and we've drawn actually the chief midwife over from the UK, which is amazing for us little Adelaideans to try and to get someone of her standing actually come to the conferences, and there's some amazing speakers. The other thing I think as students, you often, when you get into the midwifery world, you look up to these people that you really want to be like. And they feel like they're untouchable, but they're just human beings. They do the same things that we do. They go to the toilet the same way that we do. And they're really open to you having a conversation with them. So one of the things we're really trying to advocate for here is to ensure that all our students here at the university can actually attend the conference. And we're actually looking at cancelling all classes that week. So it's between the 12th and 14th of September this year. And what you will learn from that conference is more than what we could ever provide here at uni, just because of the amazing people that will be there. So really consider it. I just want to acknowledge ACM for all of the stuff that they've donated today, and those who don't win a prize will have the opportunity to come and select a couple of things from the table that they've provided, so you don't go home without something. So the other thing I also wanted to share with you is that we're also having a midwifery student night in the next, on Wednesday the 5th of April, and that's it's a bit, apparently we want to give away stuff again.
Is it the Comms Hub?
Yeah, so this is in the Comms Hub as well. It's probably going to flick back to the next slide in a second, but that's the registration details. Like, you might feel like you don't know anybody, but it's an absolute awesome opportunity to get to know other students, to learn about ACM, and to engage with the community and see what it can bring you. So please feel free to come along to that. You've got to register through that, and Kristen is actually heading that up. So Kristen's a previous employee and an adjunct for Flinders University. So if you need to ask her any questions, you can send her an email about that night. It will be fab. And there'll be more opportunities for you to engage with us. So as I said, we've got our meeting tonight, but in our next meeting we're actually doing a social event. So watch out for that, because you'll be invited to that as well, and you can come along and engage with all us crazies. All right, giveaway time. I need my trusty helpers again. All right. Get your pens ready. We're almost done. You've done amazing. No, we don't do that. Turn off?
Yeah, turn off.